not fear. Don't wait for the next certified letter. Don't wait for a levy. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll tell you exactly what to do next, step by step. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. Act now before the IRS acts first.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and warmer with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 78. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with a thunderstorm in the evening, followed by a passing shower later on. Thunderstorms could bring hail and damaging winds with a low of 50. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy and cooler with a high of 58. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The left claimed another economic casualty over the weekend, Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines shutting down after, well, technically 43 years. There was a name change about a decade in. Over the weekend, turned off the lights, Spirit Airlines, 14,000 jobs gone, 30 plus smaller airports lose service. This is how one pilot, who I guess had been with the airline for 14 years, signed off in flight prior to, of course, safely landing.
We got a notice from our union, right, that we're going to be ceasing operations at 3 a.m. Eastern time today. Met a lot of friends along the way. Had some great conversations with some of you over the 14 years. Had some not so great conversations occasionally. A lot of crazy stuff has happened, but it's funny as we sit here, I'll speak for myself. I don't remember any of the bad times, just the good ones. So, Spirit, believe it or not, started flying in 1983. I think it was called Charter Air at the time. And in 1992, it changed its name to Spirit. So we've been in the air since 1983. What is that? 43 years. And unfortunately, that's over. So thank you for your support over the years. And onward and upward, right? Go. God bless you all.
It wasn't my preferred carrier, but you don't like to see people lose their jobs. You don't like to see a business go out of business, particularly when it arguably was at the hands of a bunch of politicians in the Biden administration, starting with the big guy himself. But as we talked about last week, when there were still some potential plans afoot to try to offer some lifeline to Spirit, The killer was the merger that was blocked by the Biden administration with JetBlue. JetBlue offered $3.8 billion in cash to buy Spirit in 2022. Shareholders, flight attendants union, everyone voted yes, but Elizabeth Warren voted no, and that was the deciding vote. The company would have held 9% of the U.S. market against the big four that own 80%. And this was alternatively argued. Well, that aspect of it was argued that would raise the specter of a monopolist. 9% of the market. In fact, JetBlue had two deals, one with American giving them more slots to expand in New York, and one with Spirit giving them the planes to fill those slots. The Biden/Warren Department of Justice blocked them both. They claim the deal with American was bad because JetBlue was a market disruptor, and we wanted an airline competing on price. And then they turned around and claimed that the Spirit deal was bad because JetBlue was a market monopolist. So it's a disruptor here to get the routes. It's a monopolist over here to get the planes. What happens when government meddles into businesses it has no business dealing with, no business interfering with? But this was the argument that was made by Elizabeth Warren, Ann Peabutt, Transportation Secretary at the time, and senators like Chris Murphy. You know Chris Murphy, the hysteric from Connecticut. He was just in Barcelona the other week talking about how America is in mid-totalitarian takeover. This is what he said about blocking the Spirit-JetBlue merger back in January of 24.
So this week, at the request of the Biden administration, a federal judge blocked a big airline merger between two airlines you've heard of, JetBlue and Spirit. I want to tell you why this is really important for consumers, but also for the country. The Biden administration has made it a priority to try to break up these big monopolies, to try to infuse more competition into our economy. You know this is a problem because you've seen these massive companies become more and more powerful, and that's really bad for workers. It's really bad for consumers. It just sort of, guts the emotional soul of the country when you've only got a couple companies that have this much power. Well, that's happening. Yeah, gutting the emotional soul of the country. We want Spirit Airlines to compete on price. Well, you just eliminated their ability to not just compete, but exist. 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com call-in and text line if you want to opine on the passing of Spirit Airlines. Again, this was Peabutt, presidential aspirant, former transportation secretary at the time on Spirit Airlines.
Our department, the Department of Transportation, has generally not gotten involved in these merger cases, but that's changing today. It is so important to make sure that passengers have choices, that they have access to low fares, that they have access to competition, and yet we've seen less and less and less of that competition over the years. We are taking a step that, again, is unusual in terms of recent years, but we think is the right thing to do, supporting the DOJ's lawsuit and independently using our own authorities, which are a little bit different from the DOJ, starting our own investigation and taking other actions.
Yeah, wonderful. It was a teamwork, team effort. Sean Duffy, the current transportation secretary, had a bit of different take on it, you might imagine.
Spirit tried to merge with JetBlue. The Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg administration and DOJ tanked that deal. Immediately after that, they filed for bankruptcy. They were having financial problems. Martha, they filed for bankruptcy again last year. They were bleeding money. And so this was in the works for some time. They were going to have to liquidate. And so, again, I'm proud of the American Airlines that have stepped up to take care of the passengers of Spirit, making sure they can get home. The employees of Spirit have special access to apply for jobs with other American airlines. So, again, I've stepped in, worked with the CEOs, and, again, this could have been chaotic. And under this administration, President Trump's leadership, there isn't chaos. There is actually a unified American approach to helping passengers and employees of Spirit navigate this crisis.
312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, calling and text line. Yeah, you heard P-Butt, Murphy, Warren. You know, they didn't want to cost consumers choice. They just eliminated an airline and 1,800 flight attendants that were furloughed in December, 510 pilots gone in the months after, 7,500 jobs. And that's just the people in the uniforms. The catering, the fuel guys, the baggage crews, the gate agents, the airport coffee shops, the hotels and rental cars in 70 cities to which Spirit flew. Now, it doesn't devastate them all, but it's going to have an impact. The industry handle is that every airline job carries 3 more jobs on its back. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, on with Bartiromo yesterday, was a little bit more pointed, as is his wont, than even the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy.
Sure, Maria. So this is just more of the mess we inherited from the Biden administration. In September 2022, Elizabeth Warren, who loves to write letters, sent a letter to the Justice Department, to the Transport Department, saying that they should oppose the merger with Spirit Airlines. JetBlue wanted to buy them for $3.8 billion. It would have given them much more resiliency, and she and the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, was probably the worst Transportation Secretary in history when he came to the office. They were against the merger, and if JetBlue had merged with Spirit, we would have all these jobs that were lost yesterday. We had 30 regional airports who have lost service. And I can tell you what happened here. It wasn't Treasury, it was Commerce that was trying to put something together. But the reason we were here was because the merger, the Biden administration opposed the merger. We shouldn't have been here in the first place.
Mm-hmm. But they showed Spirit and JetBlue. They showed the airline industry, Elizabeth Warren and company, didn't they? Krakatoa. So now what's their fallback rationalization? Their fallback explanation for Spirit's departure, if you will? Trump's war of choice in the Middle East. It's Trump's fault. Iran and the fuel price shock. That's what put Spirit out of business, you see. Uh-huh. Well, Margie Brennan over at Face the Nation tried that out dutifully because Elizabeth Warren issues this statement, and Margie Brennan is reading chapter and verse from it immediately on the Sunday Talkies. That's how it works. There's your ecosystem. She tried that on White House Econ Advisor Kevin Hassett, and he cheerfully put that down.
You mentioned past financial troubles. Unquestionably, Spirit did have them for many years, but they did have that restructuring deal with bondholders back in March. In the statement Spirit released explaining why they were shutting down, they said, quote, "The sudden and sustained rise in fuel prices in recent weeks ultimately has left us with no alternative." Are other industries also at risk of collapse, or other major companies, due to this energy shock?
Well, don't forget that the Spirit Airlines was Chapter 11 twice because they basically didn't have a business model that was working. That's right. And the other airlines are still operating. I just flew out here to discuss these matters at the Milken Conference in L.A., on United Airlines. And the other airlines are operating. What they've done, because they have thought ahead way more than the management of Spirit, is hedge their jet fuel purchases and so on, so that short-term energy shocks don't have a big effect on their business. Certainly, it'll affect profits for the airlines for a quarter or so, but they're very, very healthy right now.
Yeah, imagine being forward-looking, running a Fortune 500 business like a major airline. This is a concept that is completely foreign to the D.C. press corps and politicians because, of course, most of them have never had that bottom-line sensitivity. Most of them have apparently never passed an Econ 101 course. You could even have some theoretical understanding of the sector, one of the sectors you covered, if you were just a bit intellectually curious. But I know that's an impossibly high standard for people like Margie Brennan to uphold. Rob and McHenry.
Good morning, Dan. Love your show.
Thank you.
We all know monopolies are bad. Maybe we should appeal to the Justice Department to break up the monopoly in Illinois by the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
it's
well,
bad for consumers, it's bad for the electorate, and it's bad for business.
Well, that's all true. Thanks for the call, Rob. But, we're free market people over here, so anybody is free to offer up their candidacy or offer up a new party and associated candidates. And then the people are free to choose. That's how it should be. But no, I understand the hypocrisy you're pointing to in terms of monopoly. Of course, here's, as a free marketeer, I will just make the statement, monopolies don't exist. You don't need a Department of Justice antitrust division. The only way monopolies exist is with government sanction. When the one institution that has a monopoly of force in society puts its finger on the scale for your business, then you can be a monopolist. In a truly competitive marketplace, there's no such thing as a monopoly. This is the boogeyman politics of the left, the class envy, the cheap class envy politics of the left, and occasionally some on the right who fall prey to this because they want to appeal to populist sentiment. It's always a bad play. Always a bad play. These people have no idea what they're getting into. And, for those who have some sentiment for populism, this is a good example of what it does. It destroys. And Elizabeth Warren is a really good example of being a bad example. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, 51 degrees. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect sunshine and warmer today at a high near 80. An investigation is underway after a person was found near the Chicago Executive Airport in Wheeling. Authorities say the discovery was made yesterday along Palatine Frontage Road. A male was found lying next to a fence along the viewing area at the airport. A preliminary investigation indicates that person may have been killed in a hit-and-run accident involving a vehicle. Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting outside a store in Joliet. Police say a man was found shot early yesterday in the parking lot of a Dollar Tree on Colorado Avenue. The victim identified as Aaron Lee Vidalis Jr. Flames tore through a 3-story apartment building in Glendale Heights on Sunday. Fire crews responded to the Ellen Crossing complex around 10 a.m. Glendale Heights police tell us no injuries. Crews are still cleaning up. The state of Illinois paying tribute to the Chicago police officer who was killed in the line of duty last month. Flags are being flown at half-staff around the state until sunset Friday in honor of Officer John Bartholomew. 25 beagles who have spent their entire lives in cages at a research and breeding facility in Wisconsin have arrived at Paws Chicago. Last month, activists actually broke into that property in an attempt to rescue the dogs. The facility later agreed to sell 1,500 of their 2,000 dogs. A check of weather coming up next on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Firago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. With its decision in Louisiana v. Calais, the Supreme Court took the United States one step closer to the race-blind, colorblind, equal opportunity society envisioned by our Constitution. The ruling shifts voting rights law from judging maps by racial outcomes toward a simpler question: whether lawmakers intentionally discriminated. This is as it should be. Today, there are a record 58 minority members of Congress. Most were elected from plurality white districts. America twice elected an African-American president. These aren't the marks of a nation closed to candidates of color. Ending racial gerrymandering encourages leaders to focus on ideas and results rather than skin color. By rejecting racial line drawing, the Supreme Court affirmed a vital truth. In 21st century America, skin color isn't what defines us. Our convictions and our character do. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Now that spring is here, it's time for some spring home maintenance.
That's cold!
Hot water issues? Call Center Guard Plumbing. Right now, get a new 40-gallon atmospheric vent water heater installed for just $1,295 standard installation, or a 50-gallon for $1,395 standard installation, with free haul away of your old tank. A proud sponsor of AM 560. You'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on tankless and atmospheric vent water heaters with Center Guard Plumbing. Plus, get 10% off any licensed plumbing contractor competitor's price. Center Guard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive spring special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit centerguardplumbing.com.
There's a new kind of energy at Starbucks. Try the all-new Energy Refreshers. Strawberry Acai, Mango Dragon Fruit, or the all-new Mango Strawberry. New Energy Refreshers, only at Starbucks.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and warmer with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 78. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with a thunderstorm in the evening, followed by a passing shower late. Thunderstorms may bring hail and damaging winds with a low of 50. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy and cooler with a high of 58. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Related to the Spirit Airlines departure from the aviation business. You know, I just wish someone in corporate America would have the temerity to really speak publicly about these politicians, about how little they know, about how pathetic they are. I'm going to talk about little dime store authoritarians. Where the hell they think they get off destroying the businesses and livelihoods of productive people. I wish they'd call them out. Local story. Chicago Contrarian had it. Alderhuman William Hall, the right and honorable William Hall of the 6th Ward. Apparently, end of last week, Walgreens announced the closure of its store at 86th and Cottage Grove. And that is unacceptable, said Alderman Hall. Here we go again. I mean, this is nothing new, but it's just a good opportunity to represent. Walmart, you can't come in. Walmart, you can't close. Walmart, we don't want you. Walmart, we can't live without you. Remember that dance for years in the city? Big box stores. Keep them out of the city because this is ma and pa land. And the Chicago City Council, in its infinite wisdom, unbounded insight, knows just exactly what the composition of the business community in Chicagoland, Chicago proper, should be. Of course they do. Know exactly how many grocery stores, pharmacies, restaurants, bars, so forth. Manufacturing, light manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, logistics. They know. They got it all handled. The central planners know all. Dare you say it's the fatal conceit, Frederick von Hayek? Walgreens, unacceptable to close your business. In his statement, this is not just a store, it is a lifeline for prescriptions, basic health care, and daily necessities for our seniors and families. Walgreens has profited from this community for years, and now they are choosing to walk away without regard for the impact. Let me be clear, there is no loyalty here, and our community will remember it. I am demanding immediate answers from Walgreens leadership on their timeline, how prescriptions will be handled, and what concrete steps they will take to ensure residents are not left without access to essential services. We will not accept corporate abandonment, and we will not allow the decision to happen without accountability. Yours truly, Alderhuman William E. Hall, 6th Ward. One of your betters, looking out for his constituents. Of course he is. Isn't that inspired? He's going to get you those answers. But not prescriptions, not basic health care, not the daily necessities for our seniors and families, because Walgreens had profited from the community. Well, the community profited from Walgreens. You're implicitly saying so. That's what a business is. It's a service organization, a real service organization. It provides a service people are willing to pay for. You can measure the value, as opposed to all those NGOs where Alderman Hall's friends are loitering about, financed by forced extraction of people's resources, as opposed to the voluntary choices they make with their marginal dollar to shop at Walgreens, for example. You see the difference? A little Econ 101 lesson, since that is a foreign topic in Chicagoland. Demanding answers, how you will do this and how you will do that. Gee, who do you think is going to end up treating their customers better? Walgreens, which doesn't just have one store, by the way. This just in. Or William Hall, the politician. Do we ever get tired of these same ruses run by these same political racketeers? I suppose the answer is no, because, by every objective measure, the populace gets less and less educated, less and less able to critically think with each passing generation, and they're easily sidetracked into the identitarian politics, the boogeyman gambits of the left. If I hate Trump enough, then I won't have to worry about my basic necessities. I just need to bring a little bit more Trump hate to the table, and then everything's going to be okay. Then I'm going to be successful. Then I'm going to get what I want. The phony promises. Ron's outside.
Well, good morning, Dan. Welcome back. I'm just surprised that store hasn't been closed. And so, man, it gets like a fool. Talking about being held accountable, the people in the community, were they being held? Then when I say, I think I went there one time, but my wife went one time, and she was in shock. She said, I could never go back there. When
Why?
I say everything is locked down, first of all,
yeah, of course.
They didn't have any products. When I go to stores, I like to have a pleasant experience if I'm spending my money. It was horrible. But for Will Hall, no. hold the people accountable. Same reason Walmart closed. So now we have a good Walgreens on East San Antonio. About 3-4 months ago, they sent this gentleman over there, I guess, to see if he could turn it around. So I'm really familiar with that. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Then the store was a hellhole. So Will Hall, shut up.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Thanks for the call, Ron. Yeah. Maybe if the BLM branded Gimme Dat grocery stores and pharmacies would have come online as promised, wouldn't have this problem at 86th and Cottage Grove. Oh, no, of course you would. Oh, speaking of which, I saw BLM Brandon was out in force for the Mayday festivities. Again, the rap, the Workers of the World Unite rap. That's what's going to put food on the table. That's what's going to get your kid a good education and a well-paying job. Sure. How's it going? How's it going on the south side and west side? Good?
Whether you are a public school teacher or a child care provider, or if you work in a factory and manufacturing, all workers deserve dignity and respect, and we're not going to stop fighting until every single worker and every single working family in this city and in this country and in this world, that we get our fair share of the equitable distribution of the wealth. Are you right? Are you with me, workers?
Yeah, equitable distribution of the wealth. Okay. And we're not going to stop until we shut every business down to do it. Jim in LaGrange.
Hey, Dan. Maybe we should do an examination as to why Walgreens closed aside from profitability. Maybe we should do a field trip, go down Dan Ryan, get off at 79th, go down to Cottage Grove, take a right, go down to 87th, and then you'll get a good feel for what's happening. And maybe Mr. Hall should have done a security shift at Walgreens and seen what the conditions were really like in that store environment. Thanks, man. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Jim. Yeah, I'm sure it's a real mystery why Walgreens decided to pull up stakes there. Well, I mean, you just heard it. You just heard it from Ron, his wife's experience there. Everything's behind lock and key and not a pleasant experience, not in a particularly safe area. This just in, businesses don't want to locate their business, don't want to make major investments in an area where it is unsafe to operate their business. Again, one of these shocking revelations, I know. Chris, Dan Ryan.
Yeah, Dan, I just want to say a real quick comment. When anybody, and a majority of people who say this, I'm not saying everybody, just a majority, when a majority of the people say, let me be clear, they don't know what they're talking about. Let's be honest, okay? I'm seriously. And this guy Hall, obviously, he's never taken a trip to 87 to Cottage Grove because he is insulated in the City Hall. That's my comment. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Chris. Text from Amish, the Amish texter. You know what Elizabeth Warren's Indian name is? Crocodile, no. Pocahontas, no. Broken Spirit. Oh, I see what he did. Very good. Roger, Southside.
Hey, Dan. Good morning. The insolvency can't come quick enough in Chicago to take the control out of these people's hands. The alderman, mayor, up the line, hopefully affects the 400 county board chairman that we have, or is it 500? Because it's you go through every ward, and even a ward who would say like, oh, this is an affluent ward or this is a regentrified ward. If you're around the city every day, every single place looks worse. I don't care if you go from the 19th to the 10th to the 41st across to Edgewater Beach. They're all, I mean, if people can't see this coming, the collapse is here. And it's not just, but now we're saying, well, you can't blame Walgreens. Next, it'll be CVS, because what goes on in the CVS's here, the pharmacies can't keep up there. They're running 24 hours a day. We tried to go in there anytime, I don't know, after work, the lines are 30 deep because these Walgreens and CVSs aren't around. The small pharmacies are gone. This is urban collapse here. And it's going to be fun to watch. I
don't think it's going to be that fun to watch, unless you think it's fun right now. Doesn't look like fun. When is the collapse going to happen? It's happening. To paraphrase the line from The Big Short. When is it going to happen? It's happening. It doesn't happen all at once. But don't you worry. The Chicago Teachers Union has the next generation lined up to continue the descent into madness. 6th grade teacher from Funston Elementary on the Mayday activities, where BLM Brandon, as you just heard, was a featured speaker.
Especially with immigration being so close to our school in the fall and just like tear gas being thrown right over there, I think it's a really cool way for us to show our students that they can take their power back and feel empowered for the day. My name is Maria Hebner. I'm a 1st grade teacher at Funston Elementary School. Palenque LSNA is planning a march and rally at the Logan Square Centennial Monument next Friday, May 1st at 10 a.m. We are organizing our school so that the K through 6 students are also going to be able to march. We're going to be doing sign making, art projects, maybe a banner build with the students. And my students are learning This Land Is Your Land. They're going to sing that along the way and some other chants. Our 7th and 8th graders are going to be going on a field trip downtown to the Union Park rally at 1 o'clock. It's really important that we build our power as workers. I'm excited to share that with my students so they can see workers building their own power and they can feel empowered themselves. I want to see you there at Mayday, 10 a.m. at Logan Square Monument or 1 p.m. at Union Park. Be there or be square.
Be there or be Logan Square. Sorry I was unable to make it. If anybody did make it for the Mayday festivities in Logan Square, please do give us a call, 312-642-5600. Want to hear about all the pageantry and education, enlightenment that was going on. Empowerment, worker empowerment specifically. Tina Joliet.
Hi, good morning, Dan. Hey, I wanted to call and say that the absolute best messaging coming in the country, coming out of a non-politician, is coming from Spencer Pratt in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And what he keeps hammering on is the fact that we've got this generation of Marxists running our major cities, and they're constantly bemoaning the fall of capitalism, and look what capitalism's given us. And what they're neglecting to remember is that for 30 years they've shoved Marxism down our throats. This is the effect of socialism and Marxism. That's what we're living in. And that gentleman before me is right. This is the collapse. We're on the precipice of the collapse. And I say accelerate it. Pour the gasoline, light the match. No business should come here anymore. Everybody should bail. And then maybe I just got another $500 increase in my property taxes. Every year it's been $500, $700. This is out of control, and I get less and less for my money. Enough.
You can't pay enough for, you can't pay too much for student empowerment, Tina. Thanks for the call. Yeah. Text from 209, it's reached the south suburbs, far south suburbs. Tide detergent is officially locked up at the Flossmoor Meyer store. Well, I mean, the south suburbs it's a demilitarized zone. Destroyed by, the government again. Destroy businesses, destroy communities, destroy mediating institutions. Mm-hmm. Spencer Pratt, Tina from Joliet is right. And I've been saying this for many moons, if you've listened to this show, which is somewhere in the not too distant future, somebody is going to break through and win a race in one of these disintegrating urban centers that they shouldn't win. Maybe it's Spencer Pratt. Polymarket has him moving to basically the same likelihood of victory as Karen Bass to win re-election. Mayor Basudra, as Spencer Pratt calls her, garbage. So, he's still facing long odds, even though it's nonpartisan. He's going to be painted as, Trump Republican, conservative, blah, blah, blah. But there is real progress there, and I think the populist messaging, if I may, has a lot to do with it, as Tina was mentioning. I mean, the this 30-second spot he did, which got a lot of attention last week. Right attitude, right tone, for sure.
This is where Mayor Vass lives. You notice something? Or here, where Nicky Rahman's $3 million mansion sits. They don't have to live in the mess they've created where you live. This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are. That's why I'm running for mayor. For my sons and the rest of us Angelinos that want to stop these corrupt politicians from destroying our city. We are going to get the golden age of Los Angeles back.
And it's not all just, it's a nice texturing, too. Because it's not all just that hard-edged, hard-charging, insurgent. It's some fun, too. Like this little ditty that was penned for the Latinos for Pratt group. Saca basura. Take out the trash. We'll pick up Pratt in that LA race and a couple other mayoral angles at the top of the hour. But to take up enough calls real quick. Michael, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Welcome back, and thank you for taking my call. I hope you enjoyed your time off.
Thank you.
One of the ironies of these Walgreens closures on the South Side is that Walgreens actually gained a foothold on the South Side back in 1901. That's when it opened up its store.
That is interesting. Thanks for the call, Michael. Scott, Frankfurt.
Yeah, Dan. Thinking about all these protests over the weekend and with all the kids involved, I thought about that interview that was done decades ago about, I don't know if it was economists talking about how to destroy the USA from within. And Russia's laughing right now because they finally got a couple of generations of our kids teaching. These morons are teaching our kids now.
Thanks for the call, Scott. The Chinese Communist Party probably even more so. They're better positioned. Not the Soviets' heyday anymore, at least the Russian Soviets. All right, coming up at 6:06, we will return to Spencer Pratt and Mayor Basura. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND, Chicago.
Who went on a shooting spree and why? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Big questions near Oklahoma City, where there was a mass shooting late last night during a party at Lake Arcadia. At least 12 people hospitalized.
We understand the concern from the public and those involved, and we are working extremely hard to find these suspects and help these victims.
Edmond, Oklahoma police spokeswoman Emily Ward also hospitalized Rudy Giuliani in critical condition in Florida. We haven't been told what his illness is. The former New York City mayor was also a Trump lawyer and advisor in the president's first term, a key player in the attempts to overturn the 2020 Trump election loss. The president on Truth Social calls Giuliani a true warrior. Another post details something new in the conflict with Iran called Project Freedom.
The president calls this a humanitarian mission in the Strait of Hormuz to try to get these ships out of the Persian Gulf. Here's what he wrote on Truth Social. For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. This comes as there were reports of at least 2 more ships coming under attack over the weekend. Iran's threats have bottled up traffic in the Gulf and disrupted world oil markets.
That's Fox's Doug Luzader. Iran State TV reports they prevented the entry of U.S. warships in an area of the strait. The price of oil is up again this morning. Gas up another penny. AAA's national average for regular $4.45 a gallon, 34 cents higher than a week ago. 3 people are dead on a cruise ship.
The deaths are being put down to hantavirus, a rare infection usually passed to humans by rodents. At least 3 more are sick, including one who's in intensive care. The outbreak happened on board the MV Hondius on a trip from southern Argentina to the Cape Verde Islands off West Africa.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. There's a search in Morocco for 2 missing American soldiers taking part in military exercises there. It's feared they fell off a cliff. America's listening to Fox News. Good morning. 52 degrees in Chicago. On AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect sunshine and warmer conditions by the afternoon. 2 teens are among 3 wounded in a shooting in Chicago's Back of the Yards neighborhood. A 16-year-old, 18-year-old, and 20-year-old were standing outside Saturday night in the 5000 block of South Hoyne when they were shot. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office is naming the victim of a homicide in Schaumburg. Catherine Torbick was found dead in the 1700 block of Weathersford Way last week. Torbick, according to the exam, died of strangulation. The death is now ruled a homicide. Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting outside a store in Joliet. Police say a man was found shot early yesterday in the parking lot of a Dollar Tree on Colorado Avenue. Investigators say no one is in custody. An apartment building in Glendale Heights severely damaged following a fire. Blaze broke out yesterday at the Ellen Crossing Apartments. No injuries, but dozens were displaced. North Suburban Police believe a man found dead near the Chicago Executive Airport viewing area on Sunday morning may have been killed in a crash. A preliminary investigation indicates that the man may have been struck by a vehicle. The news, a service of Fox Valley Coins, currently buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, and rare date-proof and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are 3 companies quietly building a $1 trillion triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These 3 companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on 3 companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes and get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
6:08. Let's take a look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Disabled vehicles showing up on the entrance ramp. Outbound on the ramp from Dempster this morning as you travel on the outbound Edens. Right now, inbound jamming up first to Oak Park Avenue, and the Ryan slows up between 95th and 75th early this morning. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but first, your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and warmer with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 78. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with a thunderstorm in the evening, followed by a passing shower late. Thunderstorms may bring hail and damaging winds with a low of 50. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy and cooler with a high of 58. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Now 51, your next news at 6:30. Continuous coverage of the latest news, traffic, and weather at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Let's talk about the Great Disintegration. The meltdown of America's major urban centers, which continues unabated. Competition to see who can destroy itself in the most spectacular fashion the quickest. But maybe we are on the precipice of a breakthrough, and that's in L.A., actually. The prospect, as we were talking about a bit at the end of last hour, the candidacy of former reality star Spencer Pratt. And again, I didn't much care for him when he was on The Hills. Not that I really watched that show, but typical sort of whatever, sparkle beach Ken pretty boy D-bag on some reality show. But he's grown up over the years, as people do. And now that he's got a family, and he had a stake in the community, Pacific Palisades, where his house formerly stood before the Great Fire, he's got a new attitude. And it's a pretty good one in this political climate when you're dealing with politicians like Karen Basura Bass. Again, his spot that was the talk of the political realm last week.
This is where Mayor Vass lives. You notice something? Or here, where Nithya Raman's $3 million mansion sits. They don't have to live in the mess they've created where you live. This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are. That's why I'm running for mayor. For my sons and the rest of us Angelinos that want to stop these corrupt politicians from destroying our city. We are going to get the golden age of Los Angeles back.
It's almost make Los Angeles great again. Not quite. The golden age of L.A. back. 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com answer line and text line. Spencer Pratt may be the candidate, the unexpected candidate, who breaks through and stages an upset victory in a major metro area that where perhaps there are enough residents because you had such a catastrophe there in the Palisades. And the rolling catastrophe of homelessness and drug use and repeat violent offenders and businesses leaving and so forth, that they're ready to do something. The residents are ready to do something the way they wouldn't normally do. He mentioned Rahman. That's the other candidate running. She's running to the left of Karen Basura Bass. She is like a female Mamdani, DSA candidate, Democrat Socialists of America. She's also on the LA City Council. The runoff, well, the essentially primary election is in a few weeks. Top two vote getters go to a runoff, and right now, Spencer Pratt, according to polling, is in the second position. He came out with another piece with that same tone and the same attitude about another scam. The incompetence of the response to the Pacific Palisades fire. The incompetence and bureaucracy and lethargy and apathy with respect to people trying to rebuild their homes, rebuild their lives there. This is all, providing ballast to Pratt's campaign. And now fold in these other, not exactly benefit scams, but sort of insider dealing scams. For example, with respect to homeless encampments, he picked up on some video, some MBE, DBE contractor posted about this $16 million grant they got to build 64 homes for the homeless. Take a listen.
Hey, Los Angeles, are you aware that socialists in LA city government are stealing your money?
We just finished doing a tour of the site with the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Contract Administration and our contractors to check out the installation of the 16 new modular homes that will include 64 interim housing beds. Northeast New Beginnings is only possible because my team and I worked to get a grant from the state, $16 million to build 64 new beds in Council District 1 of interim housing.
I'm sorry, what? $16 million for 64 beds?
$16 million to build 64 new beds?
That's $250,000 per bed. So let's forget the fact that the DEA reports that 90% of the homeless population in LA are hardcore criminal drug users.
Especially in Los Angeles, there's a lot of it. How many people are using illicit drugs in the homeless community? I would say it's incredibly high.
20%, 30%?
Of the overall problem?
Yeah.
Over 90%.
And let's pretend for a second that these people just had some medical bills come in all at once that made them lose their job, and that they're a single mom and they just need to float 3 to 6 months of paychecks to get back on their feet, 3 to 6 months of the median income, like $15,000 to $25,000. We're spending $250,000 per bed. You could just give them that money and they'd be set for 5 years. What the hell are we doing? These crazy socialists on the city council are legitimately just stealing our tax dollars and doling it out to their friends, and they rub it in your face too. She jokes about covering up the graffiti with the nice painting.
And obviously we're going to get rid of the graffiti and replace it with a nice paint job to make sure it's welcoming for everybody.
Meanwhile, fire victims in the Palisades are getting their burned out lots vandalized by commie street animals. All of your neighborhoods are riddled with tagging and garbage. No help for you, but we're going to spend $16 million for 64 homeless people to not have to endure the hardship of seeing a bit of graffiti outside their $250,000 bed. 64 people. There are 64,000 homeless people in Los Angeles. This psycho-socialist is bragging about spending $16 million of your money to cater to 0.01% of the homeless problem.
A little excited, but directionally correct. I mean, it is something that people should be a bit exasperated with, don't you think? And you got to put it between people's eyes. 64 beds $16 million, $250,000 a bed. And it all goes to the magical thinking, too. Remember when Karen Bass ran and won, she promised to force private hotel owners to take homeless occupants, to allow the homeless to use a city voucher to stay at their hotels. And obviously some of these hotels balked because you've got homeless people that have drug problems, the homeless people that have mental health problems, homeless people that perhaps are prone to violence. Not all of them, but some of them. And what's a hotelier supposed to do? Suss that all out? Endure the expense of hiring security? How's that going to be with the rest of the guests at his hotel if they know this is one of the hotels that has been compelled to accept homeless people? But this is the same thing they're doing with the 64 homes at $16 million. It's the magical thinking that all one really needs is a roof, and with the stability of a roof, all of a sudden tomorrow they're going to put on a tie. They're going to go out and get any job they can to get back into the labor force and start working their way up the rungs of the economic ladder to self-sufficiency and a better life. And it just happens like that. Because there's no underlying structural issue with so many of these people. Of course there is. Magical thinking, the appearance of doing something while jeopardizing as well as pillaging those who play by the rules. And Spencer Pratt is tapping into that sensibility. He's got a long way to go, but he's starting to attract some attention. Yeah, maybe it's in part because his sort of once a time ago celebrity, such as it was, but I don't think that's why, like, for example, Jeannie Buss, the billionaire former owner of the Lakers, daughter of Jerry, I don't think that's why she's maxed out to his campaign and others. There's some traction happening there because he is tapping into something. Is that big enough to flip L.A., to flip out Mayor Basura? I don't know. It was close last time with the billionaire real estate guy who had a very, buttoned down, sensible economic message, but he wasn't tapping into the angst the way that Pratt is here. And perhaps the angst wasn't as pronounced as it is at this juncture after the fire. And Pratt's also, as I said, having a little fun and coming up with ditties to, put together that coalition he needs.
She was saying bye-bye. Spencer, saca la basura. Look what she left on our block. L.A. looking like a closet where the junk can talk. Spencer, saca la basura. Bag it up, roll it out to the street. Latinos por Pratt, we're singing, cause we're tired of this dirty beat. Sleek and smooth, World Cup coming, nowhere to move. Just lines, delays, we're studying that. But every single pothole still attacks my tires flat. Spencer, saca la basura. All this mess,
pretty catchy.
All this spin from Hollywood to City Hall. Feels like the trash moved in. Spencer, saca la basura. Tweet that nonsense fast. Latinos for Pratt, we're laughing. Cause this clown show can't last.
I'd like to see that climb the top 40, wouldn't you? 312-642-5600, thealphawealthgroup.com, answer line and text line. Something else, too, just thinking about the mayors of big cities in America, including our very own BLM Brandon. I mean, it may be something that Pratt wants to tap into. You know, don't let them play the race game with you. Whether it's Karen Bass in L.A. or Katie Wilson, another DSA-sponsored candidate in Seattle, white, black, male, female, doesn't matter. Same policies producing the same disastrous results. That's going to be, I think, the big challenge Pratt has, is trying to overcome the race to the bottom identity politics that, Karen Bass or Rahman. Well, I think it's going to be Bass, because it's going to be Bass and Pratt or Bass and Rahman probably. So let's say it's Bass and Pratt. That Karen Bass, is going to play, and all the surrogates of the neo-Marxist establishment are going to play on her behalf as well. I mean, Katie Wilson, the mayor of Seattle, at a Seattle University confab, asked about, like Howard Schultz leaving with the passage of the wealth tax in the state of Washington, and a lot of millionaires also looking for the exits the way they did from California, the way they do from Illinois and New York on a daily basis. Here's her response.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are super overblown, and if the ones that leave, bye.
Bye. Yeah, applause line. Millionaires and billionaires of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but these capricious politicians. These grifters. By the way, Katie Wilson, like these other mayors, does not care about your safety either. Like these other governors, does not care about your safety either. Shots fired around her house in Seattle last week. She was asked about that, and then the follow-up question was, well, what about surveillance cams? Oh, surveillance cams. Those are fighting words, BLM Brandon. Shot spotter. Don't say it.
I talked to people in that neighborhood who said that, hold on, it's just one last question. People in that community who are concerned that there's been rising gun violence and that there should be more surveillance cameras and that kind of thing. That's obviously been an issue that you weighed in on. Does that change it? Does that change your perspective at all?
Let's keep it on. Yeah, let's keep it on the topic of this event. Thanks.
But does that change your perspective at all on the issue of surveillance cameras based on what you went through on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Appreciate it, but let's keep it on topic, okay? She's about to answer the question, though.
Keep it on topic, public safety?
Okay. I mean, it looks worse when you jump in like that.
I'm sorry, I specifically said to keep it on topic. Okay.
But I also have to ask the questions that people want to have answered.
Maybe we can set up a different time for that.
But the mayor's a busy person.
I understand. Maybe we can set up with Sage.
Yeah, we'll talk to Sage.
Well, Sage hasn't returned phone calls all week, so.
Oh, that's always Sage. Sage is always like that. Sage has a lot going on. She'll definitely get back to you on whether or not she thinks surveillance cameras is a good idea to increase the safety in the neighborhood in which she lives, where her house was apparently fired upon, or near it was, and people, as you heard from the reporter, otherwise complaining about public safety in Seattle like they are in every other big city. That's what I'm saying. Katie Wilson, Brandon Johnson, Zora Mamdani, Brandon Scott, Karen Bass, we could go on and on. Different hues, different sexes, same policies, same results. That's part of the case I think Pratt needs to make in his inimitable way, maybe with a song from that group that just did that little Latinos for Pratt ditty, which I enjoyed. Chris in Rogers Park.
Hey, Dan. The one ad that you played that I thought really resonated from the Spencer Pratt guy was the one with the housing and just give him $250,000. I mean, he was just very good at communicating a very common sense thing.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Is so obvious. Like you got Brandon Johnson here talking about, I got billions of bonds and billions of this, throwing homeless. So it sounds good to voters, but the way Spencer Pratt communicated that was excellent. And I want to know who's going to do that in Chicago.
Thanks for the only candidate that's a perspective that it seems to me has the potential to tap into something like that. But it's going to be a real stretch for her because she's just been inside the bubble for so long, and that's Susana Mendoza. She has some common sense positions, certainly relative to the rest of the clown show there. Parade of horribles. But whether or not she has the chops to tap into what Pratt is tapping into, I don't know. But again, I mean, think about the Katie Wilson, bye, millionaires leaving. Well, she said bye. That's really the attitude. They don't care about you being there. They don't care about your safety while you're there. They see you only as a pigeon to be plucked. I mean, that clip, Brandon Johnson talking about cops and jails.
Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities. I'm going to work hard every single day to protect the people who are caught up in violence in this city.
Cops and jails, that's the sickness in Chicago. And again, Karen Bass believes the same things. Katie Wilson believes the same things. Zohran Mamdani believes the same things. These are all decarcerate, non-prosecution, defund the police, Dem socialists. And I think it would behoove Spencer Pratt to tie them all together to try to transcend the race issue that is going to be played against him. George, Naperville.
As far as Pratt, would a political candidate who doesn't blame Trump for all the troubles in the world have currency in California?
We're going to find out. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Good morning. Welcome back. I just want to tie this to the 10th commandment, paraphrasing, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. This politics of envy is insidiously evil. Someone has more than you, therefore they're evil, and it's okay to hate them. This is just what is destroying the soul of America in many regards.
There's no question about it. Thanks for the call, Joe. And it's the gospel of envy. That's what socialism is, as Winston Churchill famously observed. Creed of ignorance, gospel of envy. Mallory McMorrow, she's a Michigan state senator, by way of California, ironically. And she's running for U.S. Senate in Michigan now. She's in that competitive primary with the Islamist to face off against, Mike Rogers, I guess. McMorrow asked on CNN if, she really wants to stand by her comparison of the Trump administration to the Third Reich.
Just to follow up on that question, do you personally see parallels between Nazi Germany and what's happening under the Trump administration?
Yeah, I do. It is deeply concerning that we see an authoritarian slide, and as we talked about earlier, dividing people against each other to convince people that if you're not doing well economically, it's somebody else's fault is an incredibly dangerous place for us to be in. I don't think that a lot of people would argue that there are shades of authoritarianism here that we need to be deeply concerned about.
Mm-hmm. Authoritarian Slide was the name of my high school garage band, ironically. Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band. To divide people in that way. To vilify people based on, to have people blame other people because they're not doing as well. That's offensive to McMorrow. Except when it's them blaming people, the quote-unquote millionaires and billionaires. Then that's fine. Dividing people. Could you imagine a politician at the federal level dividing people, vilifying fellow Americans? You know, I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think of another good example of that. Other than Trump, I think he's the only one. Vilifying people with whom he disagrees. Oh, no, wait. There was the previous president, Joe Biden. Remember the Sith Lord speech he gave, where it looked like he was broadcasting directly from Hades a couple of years ago in Philadelphia, offering this?
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
So would Senator McMorrow, the good state senator there, would she find that to be divisive, calling 73 million people extremists who threaten the very foundation of the republic? Is that the sort of electric slide towards authoritarianism that she was referencing? Has to be challenged at every turn. All right, let's. I've been failed to acknowledge this. Turn it over to our friend Mike Scott, who is back in the saddle. Thank goodness we'll never have to hear the phrase Illinoisians again. Thank you, Mike.
So happy to help. Thank you, Dan. A bulk carrier ship reports being attacked by several small craft off the coast of Iran near the Strait of Hormuz. 6:32 in Chicago in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operation Agency says the unidentified vessel's crew are safe. The strait has been largely closed to commercial traffic since the U.S. and Iran war began more than 2 months ago. Oil prices staying steady after President Trump made the announcement the U.S. military will begin escorting vessels that have been stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. Officials say 10 have been transported to nearby hospitals following a shooting Sunday night near Arcadia Lake in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Edmond Police, along with Oklahoma Highway Patrol and Oklahoma City Police, responded to find multiple victims. I can confirm that we have transported 10 to area metro hospitals in various conditions.
The Edmond police confirmed the victims were in various conditions. As you heard, the exact extent this morning is unknown. The sudden collapse of Spirit Airlines impacting thousands of employees and travelers. The discount carrier announcing early Saturday it's canceling all flights and going out of business after a deal for a government bailout fell through. No drama this time. Hollywood studios and producers have a tentative deal with the Actors Union, but member Chuck Slavin says the deal concerns him.
Looking at how fast technology is advancing, a 4-year deal locks us into a disadvantage.
3 years ago, actors and writers went on the longest strike in Hollywood history, shutting down the industry for months. 2 teens are among 3 wounded in a shooting in Chicago's Back of the Yards neighborhood. A teen is hurt after a stabbing in Joliet. It happened yesterday at the Riverwalk Homes Apartments. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 8-4 to complete a home sweep. Padres avoid the sweep, beat the White Sox 4-3. The news is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Brighten your home and make your rooms look better and bigger with larger windows or patio doors this spring. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. This year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hey, Indiana, you've heard all the ads. The Washington, D.C. lobbyists are doing what they do best, funneling millions to prop up their new crony, Trevor DeVries. Why pay that kind of money for an Indiana Senate seat? One reason, because DeVries will play their game and repeat their lies. It's all part of D.C.'s plan to buy control of Hoosier voters. With lies from Indy and ads made in Washington, they're smearing Dan Durnell. Don't believe them.
The truth is this. Dan Darnell voted to ban Chinese ownership of Indiana farmland, to close all loopholes. His America First record is second to none. Darnell is a working-class guy from Northwest Indiana. He hates communists and wants to beat liberals. And he doesn't give a rip about Washington's agenda. Pro-life, pro-Trump, for lower property taxes. On May 5th, don't be fooled by the lies from the outside. Vote conservative Dan Darnell for state senate. Paid for by the committee to elect Dan Darnell.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer Line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
There's a new kind of energy at Starbucks. Try the all-new Energy Refreshers. Strawberry Acai, Mango Dragon Fruit, or the all-new Mango Strawberry. New Energy Refreshers, only at Starbucks.
Taking a look at the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of the Hartford Auto Insurance. Wait until you hear this. You could save hundreds by switching to AARP Auto Insurance from the Hartford. Visit trusthartford.com. The Hartford Insurance Group Incorporated pays royalty fees to AARP for use of its intellectual property. AARP and its affiliates are non-insurers and savings may vary. Good morning, Bartlett. They're clearing an accident. Route 25, that's St. Charles Road, and Graham Street. Tough sledding this morning on the outbound Edens. You've got a right lane and an entrance ramp blocked due to a hazardous materials situation right at the Dempster entrance ramp. That truck, by the way, a tanker, is leaking sodium sulfate. Keep an eye on that for you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now, a check of your forecast. In the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center, breezy and warmer, intervals of clouds and sun, a high of 78. Currently 51 degrees. Your next news update at 7. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so the fallout from the Callis decision continues, certainly continued into the weekend with the expected calls of Jim Crow. Is it 3.0, 4.0? What are we on? As well as calls for special sessions in states like Tennessee and Alabama, piggybacking on Louisiana and Mississippi, to look at their maps in the wake of that decision, holding that Section 2 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act does not allow one to draw districts based on race. That was the Alito majority opinion, reflecting that decision. And it drew the typical maudlin, sentimental race hustles from the usual suspects. Like, Sonny Hostin on The View, Eddie Glaude, a Princeton professor. I mean, they're indistinguishable.
Alito argued that the vast social change has occurred throughout the country, and particularly in the South, indicating that racism no longer exists in this country. I can tell you, as a black woman, that my father was born in 1949. He remembers segregated schools. He remembers segregated water fountains. He remembers that he did not have full civil rights. And he told me when I turned 40 years old that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And he is still alive today, and I am still alive today, and I have been discriminated against. And now I have to tell my children that they have less civil rights than I did when I was born.
That's true.
That is disgusting, despicable, and I am devastated by this particular Supreme Court decision, even though, Whoopi, we did know this was coming.
Yeah, Sonny Hostin's a real sad story about the brutality of America. Yeah. Her kids have less civil rights than she does. It's just an absurd statement. And she alleges to be an officer of the court. It's an absurd statement. You hearken back to institutional racism, de jure segregation, and you fast forward and say, now you can't use race as a sword the way it was used as a sword by whites during Jim Crow and other institutions that were racist, legal institutions. You can't go back and commit the same wrong acts that previous generations committed, and it doesn't matter in which direction you're doing it. And somehow that is a diminution of her civil rights. No, it's actually a respect for everyone's equally under the law, which is, I thought, where we wanted to get. But don't tell that to Eddie Glaude, African-American histories professor from Princeton and regular sophist on MSNBC or MS Now or whatever the hell they call it.
I'm trying to keep myself calm here, Nicole.
Why?
Because I'm really upset.
That's okay.
You get tired of people playing fast and loose with your dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it was triggered by Obama. You know how many dead people are in the bottom of rivers in Mississippi because they tried to vote?
Mm-hmm.
How many dead folk, right? Folk who have wounds because of this. And here we are in this moment in the country's history, and we have to deal with this again? You see what I mean? So you think about the glorious revolution, our glorious revolution that produced the Constitution, the courts restrained it, limited. Dred Scott doesn't extend to us. You think about the Civil War, left 600,000 plus dead. Get the Reconstruction Amendments. We finally look like we're going to try to become a democracy. What do we get? The courts. Slaughterhouse cases. Reduces it. Rolls it back. And now here we are. We've only been a democracy since 1965. Barely then. 15 years later, Reagan is elected, Mobile decision happens, right? Roberts begins his career right there. And so here we are. It's exhausting. And so, yes, we have to get together. Yes, we have to mobilize. Yes, we have to organize. But these people play fast and loose with our dead. They play fast and loose with our sacrifices. They think they own freedom. They can give it to us and take it away whenever they want. And they think we're just supposed to sit here and take this, right? So first of all, I'm just...
You get the gist. Now, on the flip side, Wesley Hunt, he's a military veteran, black Republican congressman from Texas. Unfortunately, he didn't win that Senate primary. Paxton, Cornyn, and Hunt. Hunt was in that primary, too. Would have been a lot better choice to elevate Wesley Hunt and a lot easier race in the general election. But I digress. So he'll be leaving Congress because he gave up his seat to run in that Senate primary. Here was his take on Callis.
There's been a lot of talk how there won't be any black Republican members in the new term. Yeah. What do you make of that?
Nothing. I don't understand how that's relevant.
Is there a problem with like recruitment? Or
I don't think it's a problem with anything. I'm not here because I'm black. I am here because I'm qualified representative for Congressional District 38, and the American people choose who they want to choose. Yeah. And the one thing I don't want to get into is this game of race bait all day, every day. If there's 4, if there's 10, if there's none, what we are talking about is who is the best person that is best qualified to fill a seat regardless of the way that they look. And I tell people this all the time till I am blue in the face. I represent a white majority district that President Trump would have won by over 20 points, and I won by 25 points the last time I ran. I'm being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. I don't care how many black people are here. I want the most qualified people that are here.
You know, it's funny, too, because that's normally is celebrated, what you heard from Wesley Hunt. I mean, it's celebrated, for example, when Artemis II astronaut Victor Glover says the same thing, as he did in this little town hall that CBS Mornings had the other day. Victor Glover was asked by a young black girl about, what it was like to be the first black dude in space and there and such. Question he's been asked before. Here was Victor Glover's response.
How did it feel to be the first person of color to fly to or around the moon?
Good question. Maya, thank you for the question. And I will tell you, one of the things about swinging for the fence and trying to, hit a home run when the game is on the line is, if you think about that can add pressure and make you not, go up there and play your best game. And so I focused a lot on working with this team and trying to be a good teammate, trying to be a good teammate to them and also receive from them their good teamwork. And I think one of the reasons we were as successful as we did is we spent a lot of time thinking about us and not me individually. And so I would answer this by maybe just making a visual lesson here that I spent a lot of time thinking about this patch and not this patch. And now we get to be here and we get to talk about it, though.
Yes. And everybody says yes and claps. And when he was talking about the 3 patches, he pointed to this patch being NASA, this patch, NASA, this patch being the American flag, and not this patch, which was his name patch. I didn't think about my name. I thought about my country, and I thought about my team. Yay! But if you're not thinking about your race and politics, boo, says the left. Square that circle. Alicia Nieves is a lawyer focused on immigration and national security issues. She writes from Chicago. Alicia, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good morning. Thanks for being back.
So what's your take on the impact of the decision? I mean, I know there's a hue and cry about it from Hakeem Jeffries and others, as you heard, because in part because it's just a numbers game. And there's the prospect that with the state remaps combined with this Supreme Court decision, you're looking at maybe upwards of 24 seats that Republicans could pick up in the midterms, and maybe holding the House is not so unrealistic anymore. But of course, the larger implication is they're clearly not done playing identitarian politics and will not be anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. So I wrote about this in my article last week, and I think that the anger that you're seeing with many of the Democrats and sort of these liberal civil rights groups is not reflected in sort of real injury to, African Americans. When you actually look at the cases, what this represents is anger and frustration, because this was a tool that they were depending on to as a strategy to continue to hold federal power and also increasingly state and local power. And so, we can talk a little bit more about the details, but what I think is worth noting about the Louisiana case is that it's a strategy that has been used by the ACLU, NAACP, mind you, hundreds of millions of dollars this litigation industry is. And it really has been about using predominantly the narrative African Americans, the history of civil rights, the dark story of Jim Crow, to expand very subtly the Section 2 sort of jurisprudence, to expand it from, being a shield from overt racism to saying, how could we use this once we get down to 50% sort of white population districts? How do we actually use this from a shield to a sword, right, is kind of what I write about. And once you start to think of it that way, you can start engineering, very strangely visual gerrymandered districts for the benefit, not just of African Americans, which actually is not where the, quote, exciting demographic changes are happening for Democrats, but it's actually for Hispanics and Asians. So it's always been about, in most recent years, sort of using impact litigation and the visuals and history of civil rights and African Americans to slowly expand jurisprudence, not necessarily for African Americans, because they grow about 1% every decade in the past few decades, but it's about the explosion of population growth within Hispanic and South Asian populations. And they've been slowly doing this. These don't get the headlines, but it's the states and local litigation where you're seeing the rewriting and engineering of new districts based on Hispanic and South Asian. So we can talk about that too, but I mean, that's where the upset is. Like, this is cornering the Democrats into, their non-competitive ways of maintaining power.
Right, and so that's the sort of the medium to long-term problem they have, and why they're reacting so vociferously. And the short-term problem is if these remaps continue on the schedule that they are currently on between now and November, then we have to do something to have to motivate turnout. We have to do something to say, to convince people they have been irreparably injured and there needs to be an immediate response. And so it gives them something to use as a sense of urgency that's not just Trump, 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 Trump.
Yes, absolutely.
And the other thing that you tackle, too, I mean, this is another part of it, too, that since the conversation has been opened up, these majority-minority districts where there was, little competition, basically, districts held by people like Benny Thompson in Mississippi, which may not be held by Benny Thompson much longer. We'll see. How have they actually done? How has majority minority districts benefited the majority minority constituents?
Right, absolutely. And I think that's another component to it. So, you could even look at Chicago. The South is very illustrative. That sort of reflects some of the civil rights movement and things like that. But I mean, even in Chicago, you have it demonstrated. So every city is not just composed of the, local elected officials, the assembly members, the mayor, but one of the most powerful components of, for instance, let's just use Chicago, is the congressional delegation itself, the federal one. So that's an apparatus that's very powerful in bringing in federal subsidies, really transforming what the very nature of our federal power does. Does it protect civil liberties, or is it, a place to just, get social welfare for people? And so the art of it really also, it begins with gerrymandering of different districts, slowly at the city council level. Then you go to the state, then you go to federal. And that is how we've sort of created this since the 90s, I would say, with the amendment of the Civil Rights Act in the 1983. You have this unique form of heavily race-based Democratic Party architecture. And I mean, and what has been the result of it? It's been, it's been poverty, it's been complete city mismanagement, and all of things are reflective of artificially creating districts that do not benefit minorities. I mean, I think if it would work, I think you might have a different interpretation of the ruling last week, right? But the reality is this has been a buildup. And what happens is when you capture any kind of any group, any population, you just become not competitive anymore. And so, for minorities, the only way that they've been able to express any kind of differences with the party has been just through presidential popularity voting. But other than that, for so many of them, they're trapped. They're just trapped into, the sort of like race animus sort of politics. And I don't think it's benefited individuals. So I would say what makes me what I'm encouraged by in this court decision are two things. Number one is that, you could hear the headlines from Democrats like, oh, this is going to be another Jim Crow, all these things. Well, reality is the data shows, positive metrics for racial minorities across the board. And one of them is the steady decrease in racial segregation. So the reality is African Americans, Hispanics, South Asians are increasingly moving into integrated communities, particularly in the suburbs. And that rate goes higher for Hispanic and South Asians. And so what this court decision really does, and that's why they're angry, is they're not allowed to carve out very strange, sort of like snake district maps to sort of capture the minorities as they move into the suburbs. And ultimately, I think that's really important for not flaming racial tension in our country. But that's why they're angry. They don't get to ensnare minorities who are trying to flee the urban cities. They can't do that anymore. So I think that's one. The other one is that I think is an interesting topic is this. The Republicans are very excited in the immediate term, right? It helps for the midterms, but it's also going to be important to think about what this means for sort of presenting themselves in a way that's attractive to minorities as the population of white population is decreasing, right? So it opens up a sort of a new chapter in U.S. politics, I think, more broadly long term.
Exactly. One that's more that's less based on race identity or identity, hopefully at all, and more based on policy. You have to have broad appeal across racial demographics that speak to people's sort of economic and personal security issues. Good. And it should also result in more competitive districts. Even in Illinois with the feckless Republican Party, you may actually stumble your way into a competitive district again. So, I mean, that's a positive, too.
Yeah, I mean, for so long, and this is just thinking from this perspective, like for so long, I think if you're a Republican, a strategist, a funder, it's like I can't do anything with like an African-American voter or increasingly Hispanic or even South Asians who are relatively new and actually for a lot of reasons would find a conservative or Republican platform very appealing, big, conservative values, things like that. But when you socially engineer districts, like I can't talk to you. It's not worth the
why not worth the time and the expense? Yeah.
You've been captured. I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. And so it'll be an interesting, I think, long term. They call it the Democrats are like, oh, you're diluting our power. It's like, well, what do you mean whose power, right? But in that conversation, and that does mean that like districts will slowly naturally start to absorb more racial minorities, right? Even Republicans. So when you get excited, like, yes, we can cut it up. Well, that means you absorb too. And so it'll be interesting to think through how that can change sort of the political angle of Republicans. But certainly whatever that changes, that's more natural, right, for our ultimate goal. Yep. Which is not to have an insane racial tribalism in this country. That's the worst outcome. But it'll be a new frontier, I think, and I hopefully I think a better one because ultimately competition is better. So.
Alicia Neves, lawyer focused on immigration and national security issues. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. It is now 7:00 on AM 560 WIND.
From the U.S. military, I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Central Command is calling false and made up a claim in Iranian state media that Iran hit an American warship with 2 missiles. This as U.S. forces start carrying out what President Trump calls Project Freedom.
To essentially free up ships that have been stuck in the Persian Gulf for roughly 2 months now. The White House says it's eager to get those ships moving, even as Iran is saying those ships remain fair game for its attacks. The president posting on Sunday, for the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the U.S., we have told these countries that will guide their ships safely out of restricted waterways.
Fox's Mark Meredith at the White House. Oil prices up another 3% today. Gas is up another penny. It surged 34 cents in the last week, putting AAA's national average for regular at $4.45 per gallon. Former New York City Mayor and Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani is in critical condition at a Florida hospital. We don't know his illness. Fox's Doug Luzader reports.
A political strategist who was close to Giuliani wrote this on X. Mayor Giuliani is a fighter who has faced every challenge in his life with unwavering strength, and he's fighting with that same level of strength as we speak. Now, as well as guiding New York York City. Through the aftermath of 9/11, Giuliani became a fierce and sometimes controversial advocate for President Trump.
In a Truth Social post, the president calls Giuliani a true warrior. At least 12 people hospitalized near Oklahoma City after a shooting late last night during a party at Lake Arcadia. Police still searching for the gunman. There's also a search for 2 missing soldiers in Morocco.
The 2 soldiers disappeared when taking part in a recreational hike on Morocco's Atlantic coast, stationed there to take part in African Lion 2026, an annual multinational training exercise. They were last seen near cliffs around the Capdra training area close to the city of Tantan. It's feared they may have fallen into the ocean.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. The suspect in the White House Correspondents' Dinner attack, Cole Allen, has another court hearing today in Washington. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine in Chicago, 51 degrees. At 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. In our QC Kinetics newsroom, a man is dead after a hit and run on Chicago's southwest side. Police say the victim was standing on the sidewalk early Saturday in the 5000 block of Southwestern Avenue when the driver of a blue SUV stopped and an argument began. Emotions running high. This year at the 94th Annual St. Jude Police Memorial March held Sunday morning in downtown Chicago, just over a week after a Chicago Police Department officer was shot and killed in the line of duty.
These officers go out, they know the dangers, and they know that there's a possibility that they won't return home. Sounds like a sad thing to say, but how noble is it that we have people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for others?
The annual march, organized by the St. Jude Police League of Chicago, began in 1932. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 8-4 to complete a home sweep. White Sox failed to complete the weekend sweep of San Diego, thanks to a 4-2 loss at Petco Park yesterday. The news is a service of American Beam and Steel. Structural repair, licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with owner Mark. American Beam and Steel. We'll have a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt doesn't believe Iran can keep up the pace.
Iran's central bank warns economy may take 12 years to rebuild after the war. Leverage is what it's all about. The United States has it. Iran doesn't. How long can they go on given this report about how bad their economy is? I don't know. Maybe a month. We'll see, but there just isn't any money.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Food, fuel, jobs. It all starts with homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I am grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. During cold and flu season, a nearby cough or sneeze can trigger a familiar dread, that helpless feeling of being defenseless against an invisible viral threat. But what if you could change the narrative? What if you could fortify your body's natural defenses? This is why I developed Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail designed to give your body the upper hand. Virago is more than a supplement. It's a revolutionary liquid formula packed with 23 powerful natural nutraceuticals for rapid absorption. This unique blend is scientifically crafted to help build resilience and keep you protected. Don't just hope for good health. Make it happen with Virago. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Virago. Order your bottle today online at myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE.
Are you concerned about what's being taught in your child's school? There is a better way. For over 55 years, Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights has provided families with a Christ-centered education. Whether you choose our beautiful 12-acre on-campus school or our homeschool program, we're here to help. Hundreds of thousands of families have trusted Christian Liberty, and you can too. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or schedule a campus tour today. That's ChristianLiberty.com.
7:08, taking a look at the roads at the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions. To surround your target audience, go to surroundchicago.com today. Skokie accident Grosse Pointe and Skokie Boulevard. Round Lake and accident Belvedere and Fairfield. Problems this morning on DuSable Lakeshore Drive. You have northbound jammed up Roosevelt into Monroe. And the big problem of the morning, outbound on the Edens Expressway. You've got a right lane blocked with a hazardous materials situation there right at the Dempster entrance ramp. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Skies will be sunny through much of this day and a high near 80. Currently 51. Your next news update is at 7:30. Continuous coverage of the latest news, traffic, and weather at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump saying a couple of things over the weekend. Number one, bumping up against the 60-day deadline to obtain congressional authorization to continue with hostilities. Trump sent a letter to congressional leaders saying the hostilities have ceased, so there's no need for any congressional action on authorizing additional use of force. Though he then said that resuming strikes is a possibility if they misbehave, and he would also like to see the remaining estimated 15% of Iran's ballistic missile capacity eliminated.
If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, you know, it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
And maybe it's better we don't have a deal.
I'm so busy with the Iranians trying to make a good deal, and we're not going to let that happen. But they've got to make a bad deal. But if they make a deal at all, because frankly, maybe we're better off not making a deal at all. Do you want to know the truth? Because we can't let this thing go on. Been going on too long.
Maybe we're trying to make a deal. Maybe we shouldn't try to make a deal, but we're not leaving.
If we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years.
Well, General Jack Keane provided this analysis of the options the president has, probably something that along the lines of what he was briefed on by his senior command staff. Here's where things are, and here's the choices the president has from which to make a decision.
Well, first of all, I mean, where are we right now? You know, so the American people understand. We've been 3+ weeks into an attempt to negotiate after the Iranians shut down the straits. The administration believed that there would be an opportunity here for negotiations. I think the Iranians put some feelers out there to convince our negotiators that there clearly was some realistic possibilities here, and none of that turned out to be the case, because the hardliners in charge are not about to present to President Trump a deal that he's willing to accept. That's number one. Number two, he's not going to make a bad deal himself. So we have a stalemate here. They own the Straits of Hormuz, and we have shut down all their exports with the blockade. So we could continue that, and because the blockade is definitely effective. And we can make a huge list of everything that's happening to the Iranians in terms of the economic peril and the suffering is about to take place. But you have to, again, recognize who are we really dealing with here. The guys running the regime, all they care about is staying in power. They don't care about their people. They've demonstrated that time and time again in terms of their economic peril that they put them in themselves and also killing them to make certain they stay in power. So they, in their minds, can outlast us in the sense that political pressure, getting closer to the midterms, economic pressure with gas prices on the administration, they believe, even though we have the economic blockade, at some point we will end the war, stop everything, or make a deal with them that meets some of their objectives. The other alternative was to recognize that they are steadfast in that, and they will certainly don't care about their people suffering. The people that think this is going to cause a collapse and they're going to make a deal, I think they're underestimating who these guys really are. So the reality is, then what else are our options? Well, I think option one is return and finish what we started. We spent 3 weeks here trying to work something out with these guys. We have assigned objectives to the CENTCOM, so does Israel. We're 2 weeks short of accomplishing that. Let's go finish that once and for all. Complete that mission that we've given to them. And we can go through a list of targets, but there's leadership targets out there, there's ballistic missiles out there, there's a remnants of the nuclear program that's out there, there's drone storage that's out there, and energy infrastructure, etc. There's plenty of targets that we have assigned that we want to finish, and we have twice the amount of combat power to do that from when we started. And the Israelis are flush with munitions. Also, what do we do about the Straits of Hormuz? We can't leave them in Iranians' hands. They believe now they own it. We have to militarily force that to be cleared and secured and open. And we have the military capability to do that. Another option, what do we do about Kharg Island? Kharg Island is blocked right now by our blockade. An option when we finish military operations, or maybe even start with military operations, it's an option the president has, certainly, and likely was discussed, we could destroy it. And that would force an eventual economic collapse of the regime. There's no doubt about that. They don't have much alternatives because literally 80% of their revenue comes from that distribution of oil itself right out of that one place. So those military options went through discussions last week, and the president has those decisions to make.
What decision should he make? We'll put that question to John Bolton, former assistant to the president for national security affairs, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So what's your assessment of General Keene's analysis, and if it's on point, the decision that the president should make at this juncture?
Well, I think it's basically correct. I think the ceasefire was a big mistake. The country that benefits from that is Iran. They're able to dig out, try and regroup, try and pull themselves together, try and get ready for the next phase of what they see as an existential conflict. And so for 3 weeks, we haven't been bombing targets inside Iran, which is totally good news for them. The idea that there was ever a chance that the regime would give us something to negotiate, I think it's just crazy. I think these 3 weeks in terms of the negotiations have been a waste of oxygen. So what to do? I think the president may have started the first step of opening the Strait of Hormuz for traffic other than Iranian traffic. In other words, let's get the Gulf Arab oil and gas out into international markets. Now, we have conflicting reports this morning that maybe that first step isn't that great, but at least it sounds like that's the way the administration was thinking.
You're talking about his Project Freedom that he announced over the weekend?
To get some ships in ports on the Arab side of the Gulf out. That at least would clear them out if they could get them out, and hopefully make it easier for ships to come in at some point and get loaded. But the second point is, let's just go back and finish the job that we stopped because of the ceasefire. There are various reports that perhaps 25% of Iran's missile capacity, drone capacity, other military capacities still exist. They've been digging out their arsenals and storehouses underground to get missile launchers and missiles out, for example. Great. Now that they've opened them up, let's destroy them again. So there's a lot of work to do here to continue to put pressure on the Iranian regime. Ultimately, there's only one answer here, and this has been true for 20 years. People just haven't been willing to face up to it, and that's get a new regime in Tehran. This regime is a militaristic, authoritarian regime of religious fanatics. They're the people who are making the Middle East, and indeed, with their nuclear threat, the wider world, a dangerous place.
So if regime change were the objective, stated or unstated, then what from the rundown of options would you suggest? Do you destroy Karg Island, as General Keene says, and then the regime ultimately falls because now they're completely cut off from the ability to economically sustain themselves? Or is that some sort of ground force? Is a ground force required?
No, I wouldn't attack Karg Island as long as our blockade is effective, and I think it is effective. Iran's not earning any money because it's not selling any oil and gas, and if there is to be a new regime, you don't want to destroy their chance to revive the Iranian economy, which was in terrible shape, indeed desperate shape, even before the attacks began.
Right.
I don't think we need U.S. ground forces. I don't think Trump's going to put them in any event. But remember, this is a country of 90 million plus people, the overwhelming majority of whom despise the regime, which is at its weakest point, really, even before the attacks began, since it took power in 1979. What the administration has not done, at least that we're aware of, is help the opposition, which is very widespread but poorly organized and under-resourced. They need telecommunications, they need money, they need weapons. We can do a lot to help them pull the regime down from inside. We've already eliminated hundreds of the top leadership figures. The military attacks have severely degraded the instruments of Iranian state power that repress its people and threaten us internationally. We keep doing that, aid the opposition. I think regime change can come from within.
The they that constitute the opposition, who is the they? Do we have a real handle on that?
Well, it's as I say, it's widespread but not well organized. There are organized factions. The Kurds are very well organized. The Baluchis in southern and southeastern Iran are organized. Both of them are armed. And what we should be looking for is helping the opposition find defectors from the regular Iranian military, not the Revolutionary Guard, who are the hopeless extremists, but figures from the regular military, figures from the civilian side, who see that the ship is going down and don't want to go down with it. You don't have to have a government in exile waiting to go in. In fact, I don't think you can impose a government from outside. The most likely outcome, if we could get organized, is a military government to help restore order. And it's going to take years for the Iranians themselves to figure out what the long-term plan would be. But we can't talk about any of that until the regime falls.
So Project Freedom to get non-Iranian ships in and out, maintain the blockade, resume the strikes, the targets that have already been identified, as General Keane was talking about, and help to fund, resource, and organize the internal opposition. And then let's see. Let's check back in 3 or 4 weeks and see where things stand.
Yeah, I mean, others can help the opposition. The Israelis can. I think some of the Gulf Arab states can. But people have to come to grips with this central point. Iran is still dedicated to getting nuclear weapons. It's still supporting international terrorism, Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Shia militia in Iraq, conducting international terrorist acts in Europe and the United States. And now we know capable of extorting the entire global economy by closing the Strait of Hormuz. How long are you prepared to have that regime in power?
Right. And the other thing that should have been clear for many generations, it seems to me, but it's been internalized, it would seem, by this administration, the idea that some of these international organizations can provide or are desire to truly provide any material support, any commensurate commitment to this goal of deposing the regime and denuclearizing Iran, from a weapons perspective, I think was really brought home by the UN granting Iran a role at a conference on nuclear non-proliferation. So, I mean, the idea we could tie international monitors, the UN, our Western European NATO allies. This is going to be something that America and Israel do with Gulf states allies, even if they're allies of convenience. That's how it's going to get done or not done.
Well, yeah, a lot of our friends in Europe and Canada talk about the rules-based international order. Who in Iran missed that memo?
Right.
It has never existed. It doesn't exist now. I think the Europeans made a big mistake by trying to say this is not their war. They were responding to Trump failing to consult with them in advance, and that was a mistake on his part, as Trump failed to make the case to the American people for whatever his objectives are. I still can't give you a good fix on what he really thinks his objective is. But the Europeans reacted like school children, and it was petulant. Now Trump's in a similar petulant fashion, saying he's going to pull 5,000 American troops out of Germany. We need leaders who think about their country's national interest and what strategically is important, not kind of picking on each other as if they're on a playground somewhere.
Although, it's hard to argue that Trump has not been the one to show the most stick-to-itiveness here in the last half century. He could leave right now, as he said. That's what even a lot of Republicans want him to do, and he's not doing it because he doesn't want to come back in 6 months or 3 years or 5 years. So that's forward-looking beyond his term.
Well, I think he has always, from the 2016 campaign forward, said he was determined Iran wouldn't get a nuclear weapons program, which is the right position. My point is simply that the only way you can guarantee that is get a different regime in place that's committed not to pursuing nuclear weapons, that's committed to doing what we got Muammar Gaddafi to do in Libya in 2003 and 2004, which is allow the U.S. and the UK to come in and box up his nuclear weapons program which now resides at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, right next to which we could put the Iranian nuclear program.
It's interesting, too, excuse me, a Harvard-Harris poll that came out the third week of April, 74% of those surveyed think the U.S. is winning the war in Iran, including 60% of Democrats and 91% of self-identified Republicans, 70% of independents. 74% think the U.S. is winning, despite the agitprop from the D.C. press corps and their Dem overlords to the contrary. So it seems to me that Trump has sort of the political capital to do something on the order of what you and General Keane was intimating as well, are suggesting they do right now.
Yeah, I think he needs to do more to continue to make the case to the American people. I mean, this regime has been entrenching itself for 47 years. We attacked for 6 weeks. Big surprise, the regime hasn't fallen yet. Well, no kidding.
Yeah, right.
That's why I think the ceasefire was a mistake, because it has given him at least some reprieve from the attack, some ability to regroup and reconstitute, which we now need to destroy again.
Maybe it's got, I mean, I think you can argue whether or not it's gone on too long, but don't you think in part Trump wants to be seen as and the Israelis too, even to some extent, want to be seen as offering Iran an off-ramp, that there is a way to negotiate the peace. We're not trying to level the regime. So here's an opportunity, and if you refuse to if you don't miss the opportunity, then we'll have to do it the hard way.
Well, and he's given him 3 weeks. There's absolutely no sign that they've come up with anything that's within the range of reason. So I think that nobody can say he didn't try. The Iranians didn't give him any possibility for progress. Let's go back and finish the job.
John Bolton, former assistant to the president for national security affairs, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for having me.
And Ambassador Bolton joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
If you're looking to purchase a loved one's home after they passed away, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Pam wanted to purchase her grandmother's $400,000 home after she passed away, which was left to Pam's father, Ted, and her Aunt Betty. Ted listens to my show and wanted to forego his half of the equity of his mom's home and sell Pam the home for $200,000. Bad move. I recommended Pam purchase the home for $400,000 and get a gift of equity from her father, Ted, for $200,000, which enabled Pam to purchase the home with a lower rate and no money out of her pocket. Let's review. I helped Pam purchase her grandmother's home without having to bring a penny to the closing and secure a lower rate. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Conservative Rick Niemeyer has represented us in Northwest Indiana for many years, and he's notched conservative victories win after win. Niemeyer passed the largest tax cut in Indiana history from right here in Northwest Indiana. And he stood up to protect Indiana farmland from Chinese companies, closed every loophole from foreign ownership to protect our way of life and our food supply. And guess who passed constitutional carry for the whole state of Indiana? It was Rick Niemeyer from Lowell, Indiana. Oh, and he banned biological boys and girls sports, too, standing up for farmers, families, and values. That's why Rick Niemeyer has been endorsed by the Indiana Farm Bureau, the NRA, Indiana Right to Life, and more. Now Niemeyer is fighting the tough issues of today, standing up to NIPSCO and their rate hikes, and protecting farmers' property rights against the land grabs of pipeline companies. Rick Niemeyer, the conservative you can count on for state senate. Paid for by the committee to elect Rick Niemeyer.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, we'll talk to our friend, investment banker from New York, Chris Whalen, about, the financial death spirals that all the major metros are currently experiencing. Perhaps New York is sprinting to move ahead of Chicago. Chris Whalen at 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott, who's back.
Dan, good morning. 53 degrees and sunshine in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. In the QC Kinetics newsroom, the U.S. military rejecting claims that Iran has struck a U.S. Navy vessel. That denial on Monday came as the U.S. remains active in the Strait of Hormuz. 2 U.S. service members are missing in southwestern Morocco after participating in military exercises, according to the U.S. Africa Command. According to that command, the soldiers went missing during a recreational hike, not during training. At least 10 are injured following a shooting at a party near Arcadia Lake in Edmond, Oklahoma on Sunday night.
I can confirm that we have transported 10 to area metro hospitals in various conditions. I do not have an update on those conditions at this time. However, there will be more victim numbers coming in, as some did take their own personal vehicles to the hospital.
Edmond police spokesperson Emily Ward says the shooters wearing ski masks opened fire on that group of young people, and the gunmen remain at large. Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting outside of a store in Joliet. A man was found shot early yesterday in the parking lot of the Dollar Tree on Colorado Avenue. The victim identified as Aaron Lee Vidalis Jr., and there is no one in custody. A big portion of I-55 will be closed this week. IDOT tells us this morning repairs to the BNSF Railroad Bridge over the Stevenson Expressway will require lane closures on the outbound side for about 1 week. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 8-4 to complete that home sweep, while the Padres avoid a sweep with a 4-3 win over the White Sox. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Firago, the Immune Enhancement Cocktail.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
The first Top Shelf Country Cruise promised big, and it delivered. Now the bar's set. If you were there, you know. If you weren't, it's time to get on board. Set sail aboard the Celebrity Summit in March 2027, where laid-back luxury meets country fun. We're talking toes in the sands of Bimini, fun in the sun in Key West and Cozumel, live band karaoke, trivia, bingo, and performances from Riley Green, Chris Young, Lauren Elena, Randy Hauser, and more. Lock in your cabin now at TopShelfCountryCruise.com.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com. 800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
Only a few short months ago, you heard silver was up 40%. Well, silver is now up over 260%. Fox Valley Coins saw it coming, and they're ready to help. Unlike dealers that only buy or only sell, Fox Valley Coins does both. No middleman. That means you get the best deal on the dollar. Selling? Fox Valley Coins pays top dollar for rare coins, scrap gold and silver, bars, proof sets, and entire collections of any size, going through every item right in front of you. Cash, check, or wire transfer. Buying? Fox Valley Coins carries all major gold, silver, and platinum physical products. Complete discretion. Your business stays your business. Fox Valley Coins, family-owned integrity since 1981. On Route 59, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Fox Valley Coins. Buy smart, sell smart.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
Taking a look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Mattress Firm. Ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup? Let Mattress Firm sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, ideal comfort. Score unbeatable deals on both. Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Big problems, Eden's outbound. Between Cicero and Church, you have 2 right lanes blocked right at the Dempster entrance ramp because of a tanker truck leaking sodium sulfate. Hazardous materials crews are on the scene. Kennedy inbound accident right at the exit ramp on the off-ramp to Cumberland this morning. And the Ike stop and jam outbound between Cicero and First. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Breezy and warmer. Intervals of clouds and sunshine, a high of 78. Your next news update is at 8. Continuous coverage of the latest news, traffic, and weather at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues now on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, Zoran Mamdani, the New York City commie, is rolling out his wealth tax to complement his pied-à-terre tax. Tell Ken Griffin to pay up. Yeah. And, that $6 billion that Griffin was going to invest in a development in New York City, well, that may or may not continue. That may or may not be consummated after Mamdani called him out specifically as a bad example, somebody who is unfairly profiting off of the hot New York City real estate market. Yeah, sure. I wonder what he could get for that $250 million pied-à-terre at this point. Anywho, I suspect Mamdani will react like Katie Wilson did, fellow traveler, mayor of Seattle, when asked about concerns. Does she have any about Howard Schultz and other successful people leaving Seattle, maybe shifting their corporate headquarters away from Seattle and Washington State as well, in the face of the wealth tax that has been moved in Washington State? Here was her response.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if the ones that leave, like, bye.
Yeah, good riddance. Yeah, take your filthy money somewhere else. That's what I say. What does Chris Whalen say? He joins us now. Chris Whalen, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, LLC, editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst, and author of Inflated Money, Debt, and the American Dream, second edition. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Dan. What a wonderful lead-in.
Yeah. Good riddance. Get out. We don't need you. That's what the Mamdani Hochul program is, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah. Look, the left wants to pretend that they can run large cities and even states entirely on individual taxes. And the reality is that business picks up anywhere from a third to a half of the bill, particularly in cities like New York. So over time, these entities are headed for fiscal collapse. They're going to have to cut back services, and they can pretend that everything's okay. But
no. What about when the government takes over these businesses that have fled, like replaces them? I mean, like Mamdani's grocery stores. We don't need, we don't need your grocery stores. We have our own grocery stores, and the people will love them. Lower prices.
Well, yeah. Mamdani's grocery stores will be hideous, and they will run at a loss. It's a tough business, groceries. If you make net a couple points on your revenue, you're lucky. So
you're telling me that he doesn't know something that Publix or Meijer does know, Jewel?
No, he does not. He's just another, happy leftist politician who says things that sound good initially, but when you really dig into them, they don't have much substance.
Well, he's newly minted. Hochul's up for re-election. Is there any chance that Blakeman from Nassau County can run a competitive race, even maybe spring an upset, like we're talking about the possibility of in L.A. with Spencer Pratt versus Karen Basura Bass?
I haven't seen any recent numbers on that, so the answer is I don't know. My guess is no. New York is a single-party state. The Republicans are going to be forced out because of the Supreme Court decision on redistricting. It helps blue states, and it also helps red states. States ultimately control elections, Dan. There's not much the Supreme Court can say. Even the Voting Rights Act, which at the time it was passed was hailed as a wonderful improvement, is at odds with the fact that the states run elections. And the Supreme Court is very much focused on states' rights now. So every time they see a decision where this issue is brought before them, they rule in favor of the states. That's just the way it is. And it's both good and bad for conservatives.
Well, I mean, except in the Callis decision in Louisiana. In effect, they sort of did rule in favor of the state. But I hear what you're saying. So New York and Chicago, they represent the two cities with the highest debt per capita in the country. I think Chicago, on a adjusted for cost of living, actually, and median income is actually a little bit higher on a per capita basis. But anyway, it's a race to the bottom between those two. And we've been talking about this in Chicago for a long time, particularly when you have police and fire pensions that are both less than 25% funded, that someday there's going that those funds, for example, will seize up, and then we're going to have a real moment. But we've been talking about that for a long time. and nobody seems to believe it or is acting like they do. And I assume the same in New York City.
Yeah, very much. See, at the moment, New York City tax revenues have held up both through COVID and even most recently. But the composition is changing. As more large businesses relocate out of New York, you're having to lean more and more on individual tax revenues. And here's the great one. I don't know if you've heard about this one. There are a lot of buildings in New York, older buildings, that were taken over by developers, gutted, and redone as rentals. And they went back out as market price rental apartments. Well, what is Mondami and Hochul going to do? They're going to confiscate those buildings and turn them back into rent stabilized properties. Essentially, they're going to steal the capital that was invested to fix these buildings, in many cases over 100 years old. And, that's going to totally gut that market in terms of trying to renovate some of these older properties. Otherwise, we got to tear them down. And the cost to build new is prohibitive. So, the psychology of New York is very Marxist, as you said in your lead-in. And they don't understand that they do need capital. You have to have people that are willing to invest in the city. Otherwise, they're doomed.
But, I mean, it's one of those things. At a city of 8 million people, there's going to be opportunities to make money, even in a confiscatory environment from a tax and regulatory perspective. Yeah. And so where does this sort of balance out, if it does?
Well, what you're seeing is older, more affluent people leaving New York State, and you're seeing lots of younger people move in, to your point, right? They see opportunities to go out and make money. Some parts of the city have come back in terms of commercial real estate valuations. Others have not. You still have many parts of lower Manhattan, for example, that are trading at deep discounts simply because there's not enough use for office properties, for example. Mm-hmm. And everybody says, well, we'll convert them into residential. That's not really the answer, because you still have to pay the property taxes for that big building and for the land. And when landlords, for example, have to make concessions and other kinds of cash outlays to get people into the building, it means that the building's worth less. And over time, those landlords are going to go to the city and they're going to say, hey, we need tax abatement. You've got to lower the taxes on this building because otherwise it doesn't work.
Right.
And that's a process that's ongoing. A really interesting example is Mike Nierenberg at Rhythm Capital. He's a very smart guy in the residential mortgage space. Well, he bought a company called Paramount, which had dozens of premier commercial properties in New York, San Francisco, all over the country, right? But if you look at the numbers for the property on 6th Avenue that they're trying to attract partners for, right? They've capitalized all of the rent concessions. They're actually borrowing money to pay for them. That's not a good sign. Mm-hmm. The building needs to make money in order for it to support the tax base in New York. And, it's just not going to work out that way. So I think that the clock is ticking. You and I get to watch this from the comfort of Florida. And,
yes. Yes. Well, I mean, it's
I'm
the same
down here
thing.
Now, by the way, it's beautiful. So what can I say?
Congratulations. It's something we see in Chicago. So what happened at the end of last year is people in low to medium income neighborhoods in Chicago got their triennial property tax assessments, and it was 100% increase because the commercial properties got reassessed down, as you were just describing. And so you have to redistribute the burden to the individual homeowners, and they're getting socked.
Well, and not only that, but the irony of the blue states is that they don't encourage new construction, so the existing assets keep going up. And as they go up, the local governments raise taxes. I lived in Westchester County, New York. Every year, our town was raising property taxes. They were trying to catch up, in fact, because they hadn't managed this well in the past. But, what happens when those prices go down? Are they going to lower property taxes? No, definitely not.
No, I would suspect not. I did want to get your take, too, on Spirit Airlines, because this is such a great case study and sort of what Bert Folsom wrote about in The Myth of the Robber Barons, thanks to people like Mayor P. Butt and Elizabeth Warren and the Biden administration folks. Remember, this was the messaging about that proposed JetBlue Spirit Airlines merger. Here's Buttigieg.
Our department, the Department of Transportation, has generally not gotten involved in these merger cases, but that's changing today. It is so important to make sure that passengers have choices, that they have access to low fares, that they have access to competition, and yet we've seen less and less and less of that competition over the years. We are taking a step that, again, is unusual in terms of recent years, but we think is the right thing to do, supporting the DOJ's lawsuit and independently using our own authorities, which are a little bit different from the DOJ, starting our own investigation and taking other actions.
And thankfully, they were able to prevent that merger so that Spirit Airlines could limp along until it went out of business this weekend.
Yeah, I think they did JetBlue a favor. JetBlue is a better managed company. I worked in aircraft finance very early in my career. And the one thing I learned years ago is that there is a certain percentage of airlines at the bottom that need to get wound up and liquidated periodically. I don't approve of the government getting involved, but this notion that you can preserve affordability and cheap tickets with poorly managed airlines is silly. And we should just get out of the way.
Well, I know. I don't necessarily disagree with that in terms of Spirit Airlines management and whether or not that was a good play for JetBlue, but it was theirs to make.
It was theirs to make, absolutely. And they might have taken those gates around the country and managed them better and made more money. That was up to them. But creative destruction is important, especially in industries like airlines, which in the past were treated like they were special, but they're not. It's no different than a bus company. You got to run it to make money. And that's why airlines in more recent years have very tight schedules. They try and keep those planes full. They're not running empty planes anymore like they used to in the past. And, the reality is that we, as the passenger, we have to live with that. But you know what? The airlines are healthier. We were just talking about United possibly making a bid for American.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
Why would they even consider that? And the answer is consolidation lets them get rid of some operating cost. That's all we're talking about here. There's no magic formula that's going to suddenly make these companies more profitable because personnel and fuel are their two biggest costs, and they have almost no control over either of them. So,
I wanted it's something Tyler Cohen, the econ professor from George Mason, wrote recently. I wanted to get your take on this. The whole will your kids have the same quality of life or better than their parents did, and will successive generations continue to enjoy a better standard of living, continue to enjoy accumulating wealth? Because the narrative is that successive generations from the boomers are, or at least Gen X, are starting to flail. He writes, contrary to common reports, younger generations are accumulating wealth at roughly the same pace as older ones, and each generation as a whole has been richer than the previous one. Real inflation-adjusted wages in the U.S. are higher than ever before, even if we might feel the pinch of affordability relative to our expectations. So is what's going on here an expectations game mainly, or is it a real decline in the standard of living?
I think everyone has their own particular experience. It's very easy to try and generalize about these things. You're right. There are young people out there who are killing it, who are doing extremely well and accumulating wealth. Not everyone does. We, unfortunately, the left has broadcast this message that says everybody should have the same outcome. And that's not the way things are. If you work hard, if you're smart, then you're going to accumulate wealth. And more importantly, you have to preserve wealth. But one of the things I talk to my readers about a lot is that you have to have a barbell. You have to have the part of your portfolio that's to preserve value, which is real estate and gold and silver and other tangible commodities. And then you have the fiat world, which is bonds and stocks and things like that, which tend to go up at the moment, because that's the way the markets are set up. But that won't always be the case. And you have to realize that there are two aspects to this. Now, everybody keeps saying, well, the dollar is going to collapse. No, it's not. Everybody in the world loves the free dollar. They use it as a means of exchange, and they also use it for financing, Dan. That's the thing everybody forgets. The currency that enables financing, there's only one, the dollar. So I think that you have to just realize that in order to have long-term happiness and stability in your personal finances, you have to have both. And you have to look at the world that way. Because is Congress going to start paying their bills tomorrow? Or are they going to raise taxes so that we don't have a deficit? No. We pay for everything through inflation. That's the way this works.
And so what's your sort of medium-term outlook with respect to these various asset classes, starting with real estate?
It depends where it is. If you look at New York City, in the box around Midtown and Park Avenue, around Jamie Dimon, values are going up. But around the rest of the city, it's not that they're going down a lot, but the game is over for double-digit increases in valuations. In different parts of the country, it really depends on supply. In many areas, especially in the southeast, southwest, new supply caught up. So prices are soft. Here in Florida, prices are soft. I think it's really a local issue. I think you're going to see silver and gold do very well over the next few years, partly because of the war in the Gulf. The shortage of sulfuric acid, for example, is a big deal, which we wrote about last week. You can't make many things without sulfuric acid, and one of the byproducts of mining and copper and rest is gold and silver. So I think that you're going to see some very interesting things going on this year in precious metals and commodities generally. And
cryptocurrency? Nobody's talking about that anymore, it doesn't seem, but it's still hanging out there.
That's so yesterday. I think crypto is done, to be honest with you. I think so. I really do. If the Trumps are still playing with it, then you know it's yesterday. Eric Trump and the rest of them. Oh my God, they are so late to the party. It is really astounding. But wait till we have someone different in the White House. This is going to be a really interesting process when we get to that point.
Christopher Whalen, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, editor of the Institutional Risk Analyst, and author of Inflated: Money, Debt, and the American Dream, second edition. Chris, thanks as always.
Have a great day, Dan.
You too. And you joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The first Top Shelf Country Cruise promised big, and it delivered. Now the bar's set. If you were there, you know. If you weren't, it's time to get on board. Set sail aboard the Celebrity Summit in March 2027, where laid-back luxury meets country fun. We're talking toes in the sands of Bimini, fun in the sun in Key West and Cozumel, live band karaoke, trivia, bingo, and performances from Riley Green, Chris Young, Lauren Elena, Randy Hauser, and more. Lock in your cabin now at TopShelfCountryCruise.com.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com. 800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, former pharma CEO Dr. Jeremy Levin on saving a strategic industry in an age of distrust. Dr. Jeremy Levin, 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
They made it through I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 2 American merchant ships have gone through the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. military says, in a new operation while denying what Iran claims.
Iran's Fars news agency initially reported 2 missiles hit a U.S. Navy ship near the city of Jask on the Gulf of Oman. They made this up, said CENTCOM spokesman Captain Tim Hawkins. Later, an Iranian official claimed a warning shot was fired against a U.S. warship to prevent it from entering the Strait of Hormuz. This as Project Freedom is due to begin. That's an American military operation to help commercial vessels stranded for weeks on the other side of the strait.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Talks have stalled, trying to end the conflict with Iran, trying to get the U.S. to end a blockade on its ports. Price of oil is up slightly. Gas is up a penny today. It surged 34 cents in the last week. AAA's national average for regular, $4.45 a gallon now. At least 12 people hospitalized near Oklahoma City after 2 gunmen wearing ski masks shot up a party.
That shooting happened last night right here at Spring Creek Park at Arcadia Lake, where police say a crowd of mostly young people gathered for what's being described as a Sunday fun day event.
Chloe Budemus with Fox 25 TV. Police still searching for those shooters. There's also a search in Morocco for 2 missing U.S. soldiers feared to have fallen off a cliff during a recreational hike. They were in the country taking part in multinational military exercises. We're still waiting for an update on Rudy Giuliani, the day after the former New York City mayor and Trump lawyer was hospitalized in Florida in critical condition.
Cause of this is currently unknown, but the 81-year-old spokesperson releasing a statement saying, quote, Mayor Giuliani is a fighter who has faced every challenge in his life with unwavering strength, and he's fighting with that same level of strength as we speak.
Fox's Todd Pyro. President Trump calls Giuliani a true warrior in a Truth Social post that says Rudy was right about everything in his controversial attempts to overturn 2020 election results that led to criminal charges against Giuliani and a lawsuit from election workers. America's listening to Fox News. 53 degrees in Chicago. At 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect afternoon temps to rise near 80. An investigation is underway after a person was found near the Chicago Executive Airport in Wheeling. Authorities say the discovery was made yesterday morning on the Palatine Frontage Road. A preliminary investigation indicates that person may have been killed in a hit-and-run incident involving another vehicle. Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting outside of a store in Joliet. Police say the man was found yesterday early in the parking lot of a Dollar Tree on Colorado Avenue. That victim identified by police as Aaron Lee Vidalis Jr. No one is in custody. Emotions running high this year at the 94th Annual St. Jude Police Memorial March held Sunday morning in downtown Chicago, just over 1 week after a Chicago Police Department officer was shot and killed.
These officers go out, they know the dangers, and they know that there's a possibility they won't return home. Sounds like a sad thing to say, but how noble is it that we have people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for others?
The annual march was organized by the St. Jude Police League in Chicago and began in 1932. Cubs beat the Diamondbacks 8-4. Padres beat the White Sox 4-2. The news is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows, limited commercials, when you subscribe free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat. It is a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Frontier Airlines is stepping up discounted fares up to 50% off base fares for travel through mid-November, which it says will support Spirit Airlines customers. Frontier says it serves more than 100 routes previously flown by Spirit and plans to expand service this summer. President Trump says the U.S. will start guiding commercial ships out of the Strait of Hormuz, but crude oil prices remain elevated this morning. Brent crude at $111 a barrel, West Texas at $104. Economists at Britain's Barclays are predicting the Federal Reserve will not cut interest rates this year. It cites the Mideast conflict and higher oil prices. The previous forecast from the bank was for a 0.25% cut in September. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
Alex Marlow explains what he sees for Iran.
I think Trump's initial plan is that Iran could potentially work with the United States of America to impose a toll. Iran could use some of the funds in order to rebuild their country and to move on to the next era in their governance, where they could perhaps be better, more polite players in the world economy and in the world community, which is so important to so many.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
If you've saved $100,000 or more for retirement, call Steve Shyman today at 833-945-7283. That's 833-WILL-SAVE, 833-WILSAVE. Schedule your no-cost, no-obligation retirement review and make sure your plan is built to protect what you've worked so hard to earn. And don't forget to listen to Steve's show, Protecting Your Assets, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. right here on AM 560. Call now, 833-945-7283.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hey, Indiana, you've heard all the ads. The Washington, D.C. lobbyists are doing what they do best, funneling millions to prop up their new crony, Trevor DeVries. Why pay that kind of money for an Indiana Senate seat? One reason, because DeVries will play their game and repeat their lies. It's all part of DC's plan to buy control of Hoosier voters. With lies from Indy and ads made in Washington, they're smearing Dan Darnell. Don't believe them. The truth is this. Dan Darnell voted to ban Chinese ownership of Indiana farmland, to close all loopholes. His America First record is second to none. Darnell is a working-class guy from Northwest Indiana. He hates communists and wants to beat liberals. And he doesn't give a rip about Washington's agenda. Pro-life, pro-Trump, for lower property taxes. On May 5th, don't be fooled by the lies from the outside. Vote conservative Dan Darnell for state senate. Paid for by the committee to elect Dan Darnell.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
Food, fuel, jobs. It all starts with homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
809. A look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. In this update, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. Even the Sean Thompson Show. When you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Barrington accident, Northwest Highway and Hart. Lombard an accident, North Avenue and Swift Road. 8094, an accident eastbound. You're backed up between Broadway and Clay. They've cleared an accident on the Tri-State northbound just before Balmoral. An accident on the Kennedy. exit ramp to Cumberland being swept out of your way. And the Eden's still a mess as you're traveling outbound between Cicero and Church due to an hazardous materials situation at the Dempster entrance ramp. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and warmer with a mix of clouds and sun, reaching a high of 78. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with a thunderstorm in the evening, followed by a passing shower late. Thunderstorms may bring hail and damaging winds with a low of 50. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy and cooler with a high of 58. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
57 right now. Your next news update at 8:30. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft continues now on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Senator Rand Paul tweeting over the weekend before posting on X over the weekend before attending the Derby. The COVID cover-up goes all the way to the top. Fauci funded the Wuhan lab. Senior intel officials hid classified evidence from the president. Scientists were silenced. Millions paid the price. The DOJ has until May 11th, it's a week from today, to prosecute Fauci before the statute of limitations runs out. I'm not letting this go. The American people deserve justice. Well, the problem at the DOJ level is that Fauci has a preemptive, decade-long pardon in his back pocket from the big guy. Remember, he got that pardon on the big guy's way out the door. So it may have to be, as Steve Hilton in California has suggested, state-level prosecutions of people like Fauci, who may have legal exposure, but have that pardon for anything that would be federal in terms of criminal charges. This, of course, after last week when a former NIH official, Fauci Lieutenant David Morenz, was indicted and accused of concealing emails about potentially risky virus research. Interestingly, Paul Thacker, who's an investigative journalist for Real Clear Investigations, among other outlets, and he writes in scientific journals too, had talked recently about evidence he has that Fauci directed staff to destroy emails. So that would potentially be legal exposure. But again, he has that pardon in his back pocket. Nonetheless, that skepticism, to be generous, that anger persists in much of the country, as it should. Drew Holden, who's the managing editor of Compass, writing over at his Substack. In the beginning, information about the virus and its danger were hazy. Leaders and everyone else were scared about what was to come. It can feel uncharitable to look back critically at the pronouncements and decisions made at the time, considering that. But these were not forgivable missteps or slightly missed calculations. The failures were era and generation defining. And he doesn't just blame bureaucrats and elected leaders, but also this was another example of a media failure, along with Biden's health, along with Southern Poverty Law Center, along with Russiagate, so many. He writes, does Holden, the legacy media became water carriers for the use of government force and the hall monitors of lockdowns and mask mandates and all manner of other restrictions. I fear we're already forgetting just how wrong the press and its collective cadre of experts were about combating a pandemic, how misleading legacy media reporting on the science was, and the attendant harm suffered across America as a result. Yes, there was much these individuals couldn't have known at the time, so why did they act like they did? Why did they act like they did, including those in the pharma community who are actually supposed to be men and women of science? That's a good question. And, there's supercuts recirculating online of all of the contradictory statements that were made specifically by Fauci. But Fauci is a representative of so many in the academic public health community, in pharma, and, of course, the civilian press corps and politicians who did the same. Fauci, remember, on mask wearing.
This is not rocket science. We know exactly what we can do and what we should be doing. Please wear a mask. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. I often myself wear 2 masks.
There's an email from you concluding, I do not recommend that you wear a mask.
Everybody should be wearing a mask. When they're outside, people should not be walking around with masks. I wear a mask when I'm outside. You don't need a mask when you're outside. Wear a mask at all times when you're outside.
So you get the gist. And mask wearing for kids under 5, same sort of deal.
I can't count how many parents have called me and said, look, my kid can't wear a mask. It's really hurting. Or parents telling me that their kids didn't learn how to read or have verbal problems as a result of the masking. It has costs. It absolutely has harms. And there's no evidence of it working.
Obviously, children who are older than 2 years old should be wearing a mask.
Mask mandates for children under 5.
And going back to what I said before, all of that is in the context of, at the time, 4,000 to 5,000 people a day
there's scientific evidence for that?
Excuse me?
Mask mandates for children under 5, there's scientific evidence supporting that?
There was no study that did masks on kids before. You couldn't do the study. Children of a certain age, greater than 2 years old, should be wearing masks.
No study, but you couldn't do it, but they should be. So says the man who claims he alone is science. Which is why the new book from our next guest is particularly timely. Dr. Jeremy Levin is the founder of Ovid Therapeutics. He's a former president and CEO of Teva Pharmaceutical Industries. His new book, Biotech in the Balance, Saving a Strategic Industry in an Age of Distrust. An age of distrust, exactly. Dr. Jeremy Levin, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, it's a pleasure. Good to be with you.
Good to have you. And so speak to that distrust that spiked exponentially during COVID, and the hangover of distrust is still there.
Yeah, it didn't start there, unfortunately, Dan.
No.
It started way before that. But you're quite right. I actually edited a book of every single organization in 2020 just to show how confused everybody was. And that's actually called Biotech in the time of COVID-19. Amazing record. Look, a lot of credit to the president for pulling together warp speed and saving millions of lives. Unfortunately, 1.3 million people did die. The blowback from that now is quite clear as we went into the new administration. We are facing, I think, a situation in which really so much distrust had been generated over that period of time, and a lot of myths were created, a lot of stories were created, and result is really simple. People started taking apart, literally piece by piece, the very organizations that could save us in the next pandemic, because, by the way, there will be one. And that's all something we have to address. So I appreciate your addressing it. I think it's critical.
Yeah, and I mean, part of this is just a bit of a reckoning, from people who were very public facing, not just Fauci, but certainly including him, to say, at minimum, something you never hear in the political realm, I said some things that were contradictory. We were groping in the dark a bit. I made some mistakes. If in retrospect, knowing what I know now, I would have not advocated this, or I would have advocated that. But you just don't have any sort of cathartic, substantive conversation about from people who made those mistakes, who said things that were contradictory, providing some sort of explanation and cleansing, if you will, with the public.
Yeah. Dan, it's like the fog of war. A lot of people were making pronouncements, and I can forgive them a lot of that. that making pronouncements which are not factual was a bad thing to do. You, me, and others, how do you understand what this thing is sweeping across the borders? You can't even see it. Kids are getting sick. Others are not getting sick. Some people don't believe in a vaccine. Others do believe in a vaccine. And in that milieu, that distrust started to take hold. And it's a pity. I'll tell you why it's a real pity, Dan. It's a pity because the blowback from that is beginning to undermine one of the greatest national strategic assets that we have, which is biotech, which is why I wrote that essay and that book. Bottom line is, there's millions of patient years of life which have been saved through that industry. And if we don't be careful, that industry is going to be disassembled. Innovation won't stop. It will migrate to another country. And then we're going to be in a situation which resembles what we are right now with rare earths and solar panels. And I don't want that, and I don't think anybody does. By the way, if I...
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, just so you understand, I'm a farmer, and I know what biotech does. I know what it does to corn. I know what it does to wheat. We are the best in the world, period. I'm a doctor. I know what it does to medicine. We are the best in the world. And so we've got to get rid of this distrust, focus on building this industry and making this country just what it should be, the leader in all these areas.
Yeah, no, I think, most reasonable people would agree with that. And you've seen from the Trump administration a reasonable posture. I mean, he's had the pharma CEOs in. There's been discussions on everything from drug prices to Obamacare coverage that has included pharma CEOs. So it's not like they've been exiled. But you can do two things at once. You can continue to encourage the innovation you're talking about, and at the same time have some effort made to try to reestablish trust by admitting where the moments in which you failed. And that's just, we seem like it's one or the other. And it's sort of the same thing with RFK Jr. And it's like, you're either anti-vax or you're pro-vax. Well, no, I'm not anti-vax, but I'm not going to be blindly pro-vax, particularly after COVID. And so I want an explanation. I want the details. I want to hear that we have done peer-reviewed clinical studies into this, and this is what we found, and here's the full disclosure of the benefits and the risks. Like what a reasonable person, the kind of information a reasonable person would want, or at least an approximation based on the best available science.
Totally agree. You mentioned something really important, and that's drugs prices. I just want to pivot to that, if it's okay. And the hidden stuff that you and I don't know. It's absolutely insulting to me, to you, to a patient that they walk up to a counter at CVS, Walmart, or whatever, and they have to shell out cash. That's number one. They've just been punished with a disease. Now they've got to get punished in their wallet. The next is that then everybody says, well, it's all about the pharma companies. And what's really hidden, and this is hidden, is that underlying all the stories about price increases and then putting that squarely on the farmer shoulders is partially correct, but the real story is what you don't see. And that's really the PBMs, that invisible middleman who takes about 50% of the price rise. And that's exactly going back to what you said. Let's be real. Let's see the facts. Disclose everything. Be transparent.
Yeah, and you've had some high-profile discussions of PBMs because that's been Mark Cuban's hobby horse of late too. So that's generating some attention on these middlemen and whether or not and pharma companies owning PBMs, and sort of is that really a middleman, or is there just sort of self-dealing there? What do you say to that in terms of how we should understand that relationship?
Actually, no pharma company owns a PBM. There were like 15 or 16 of them. They were really competing and trying to reduce costs. This is 10, 15 years ago. Then the insurance companies figured out that these were a great deal to make profits without anybody knowing it. And so they bought them. Now there are about 5 which control nearly all the lives, and they're owned by insurance companies.
I'm sorry. Yeah, insurance companies, not pharma company. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. It's a disgrace. It reaches into your pocket, into my pocket, and there are many things that the pharma industry can do to change and to be better. That's for sure. But the one thing that you and I and everybody should demand is these PBMs get out of the way.
So what would that look like? Just the sort of the full price transparency, or what are you suggesting with respect to the pharmacy benefit managers?
I would get rid of them. It's very simple. They add no value to this. I would have the insurance companies do what they should do. If somebody is sick, I'm covering you. If somebody needs help, I'm covering you. If somebody needs a medicine, I'm covering you. Instead of which, you get punished for being sick. The prices go up. Then I would turn to the pharma companies and say, okay, any drug that you have that's new, okay, we'll price that reasonably. But when it becomes a generic, don't try and build a ticket of protection to keep it up there in high price. We have a system. It's called generics. Drop that price. Make it generic. Make it cheap so that the insurance can cover it just as it should. This is straightforward, Dan. We have a system. We have a really good system. It just needs to go back to what it was, a covenant with the American people. That is, good drugs, really great drugs can be priced reasonably. When they get to the end of the life, drop off. And then cut out the middlemen. Cut them out. You don't need them. They add no value.
On the innovation side, has there been a positive movement in the direction of being pro-innovation with the new public health regime at FDA and CDC and NIH under President Trump? Because I'm just thinking about the cost of bringing drugs to market and whether or not there is too much regulatory red tape to go through, not enough. What your thoughts on that are?
Oh, such a good question. The first thing is innovation has never been more exciting in this country. It's the best it's ever been. And that's built on like 60 years of investment by the government and others, pharmaceutical industry, and also creating institutions. Now, some of those institutions get a bit sclerotic. You got to change them. But the way you change them, unfortunately, has been a bit like taking a wrecking ball. If you're building a bridge and you want to get a couple more lanes, you don't close the bridge. You actually figure out how to make traffic travel through it while you build the extra lanes. The way that things have been taken to the CDC and the FDA is more like taking a wrecking ball and dropping the bridge into the ground before you build a new bridge. That said, and a couple stats on that which you should know, of the really experienced guys and girls who were running the and scientists, true, genuine, wonderful scientists who've been there for a long time, 90% of the leadership is gone since the last year. Now, that means they didn't do this maliciously. They did this because they wanted change. I want change. You want change. I want to have the best FDA in the world. Otherwise, we're going to compete with China. And China has copied exactly what we did in the years gone by, but made it better. And so clinical trials are migrating to China. Investment is migrating to China. And that's not what we want. We want to invest in this country. We want the best FDA, the best CDC, but do it sensibly. Don't take the wrecking ball to it.
Let me just offer this example because it's just such a popular drug now, and just get your take on like this as a concrete example and how you think it's been handled so far. So these weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy, nearly 1 in 5 Americans are on them now. And there's some question about whether or not there's been enough investigation of the impacts, the long-term use impacts of these weight loss drugs and in different cohorts of Americans. Are you taking a weight loss drug, but you're pre-diabetic or you have diabetes? Does that change the potential ill effects and so forth? This is somewhat funny, but it speaks to the larger issue. Hershey CEO Kirk Tanner, in his company's first earnings call, said that while popular appetite suppressants are leading customers to consume smaller portions of popular snacks, the drugs are also boosting demand for breath fresheners. People have quote unquote Ozempic breath. We've seen strong demand for gum and mint production as the category benefits from functional snacking tailwinds, including GLP-1 adoption, because people I get have, like, this is what they're saying, like fishy breath as a result of being on Ozempic for some period of time. And I just, like, that's obviously not some, potentially dire side effect of taking the weight loss drug, but it just speaks to the question of, do we really have a handle on the long-term impacts? And how has this been handled now that you have nearly 1 in 5 Americans on them?
Dan, you put your finger on something incredibly important. This burst on the public only recently, last couple of years, right? But the actual science was around for the last 30 years, believe it or not, and took a long time to come to fruition. Now, the data that we have to date is really extraordinary. People do lose weight. You know what? But I could do with losing my weight a touch, but I'm not going on the drug. I want to know what it is that drug will do to the rest of my body. Now, for example, one of the things that those on the drug know about who are really smart and do it, they understand that your muscles start to waste. You've got to exercise with this. Anybody that goes on it has to understand how it's not a simple cure-all. You've got to keep your muscles in shape, because if you don't, you'll suddenly find yourself with skinny legs and you look great, but what you've done is that effectively there's an old aphorism which goes, dieting makes you fat. Well, this thing stops you eating. Therefore, you get more and more fat. Because why? What happens is that your muscle wastes. Yes, you do lose weight, but you lose muscle. So the next generation, all the biotech industry is jumping on this. What they're trying to do now is invent new medicines that get rid of the fat and keep the muscle. The minute they do, I think you, me, well, you don't need it, but I do. You know, we could do with losing a few pounds. I'm going to run. I'm going to keep on running, hit the gym, do what I'm doing. But then I may, if I can't fight that weight, I may actually take that new drug. With regards to long term, you know, you have 1 in 5 Americans taking it. Well, that's an enormous body of data. It would be fantastic if we had one central organization which could accumulate that data and give us a huge, solid, hard rock understanding of what's gone on. The pharmaceutical companies are trying to do this, but it would be, to your point, as you said earlier on, much better if we could have this centralized. Everybody would see exactly what it says and get rid of any kind of influence that anybody might have. I would like to see clear, solid data. For the moment, it looks pretty good.
It's just one of those things, you know, the magic pill. You know, I'm going to take a magic pill for the weight loss, and I'm going to take a magic pill to address any muscle loss, rather than sort of a culture that says, okay, there's pills that can enhance your health and lifestyle, but you know, you got to do some of the heavy lifting yourself. You're not just sitting back popping pills, right?
I'm with you, Dan. I'm with you. Popping pills is not the solution. You got to eat better. You got to exercise more. You've got to be out there really breathing good air. And then if you need the medicine, you take it. There are a lot of people who really can't fight weight gain. I apologize. And they may need help, but it's not a panacea.
No, the flip side is some exciting news. Mayo Clinic and the advances in pancreatic cancer research, early detection.
Yeah, magic. This is, when I say magic, I mean, you know, every day if you read the scientific press, you find something remarkable going on. And pancreatic cancer is a blight. By finding it early and dealing with it offers you hope. So, for example, 10, 15, 20 years ago, if you had a certain type of breast cancer, and even if it was like a quarter of an inch, a little tumor, it was kind of a death sentence. Today, I can tell you that certain genetic types of breast cancer, you find it because of the markers, because of the screening, you can cure it. In 98, 99, certain types of breast cancer, it's remarkable simply by detecting it early. The same will happen in pancreatic cancer, and I can't wait for that because that is a killer.
Dr. Jeremy Levin is the founder of Ovid Therapeutics, former president and CEO of Teva Pharmaceutical Industries. His new book, Biotech in the Balance, Saving a Strategic Industry in an Age of Distrust. Biotech in the Balance is the book. Dr. Jeremy Levin is the author. It's available May 19th, but you can pre-order in all the usual places. Dr. Levin, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the book. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Great pleasure being with you. Take care.
Take care. And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Good morning. 57 degrees in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom, where we expect sunshine and a high near 80. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy pointing fingers toward the Biden administration after the shutdown of Spirit Airlines.
Spirit tried to merge with JetBlue. The Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg administration and DOJ tanked that deal. Immediately after that, they filed for bankruptcy. They were having financial problems. They filed for bankruptcy again last year. They were bleeding money.
Duffy on ABC's This Week. GameStop is offering this morning to buy eBay. The video game retailer made the unsolicited $56 billion offers, suggesting about $125 per share for the online marketplace. 3 are dead from a suspected hantavirus infection on a cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. 2 teens are among 3 wounded in a shooting in Chicago's Back of the Yards neighborhood. It happened Saturday night. A 16-year-old, 18-year-old, and 20-year-old were hit by gunfire. An apartment building in Glendale Heights severely damaged following a fire. Blaze broke out yesterday at the Ellen Crossing Apartments. No injuries. The cause under investigation. Cubs head Edward Cabrera to the mound against Cincinnati tonight. Davis Martin starts for the White Sox against the Angels. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel. Structural repair, licensed contractors for your home and business. Search American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Conservative Rick Niemeyer has represented us in Northwest Indiana for many years, and he's notched conservative victories win after win. Niemeyer passed the largest tax cut in Indiana history from right here in Northwest Indiana. And he stood up to protect Indiana farmland from Chinese companies, closed every loophole from foreign ownership to protect our way of life and our food supply. And guess who passed constitutional carry for the whole state of Indiana? It was Rick Niemeyer from Lowell, Indiana. Oh, and he banned biological boys and girls sports, too, standing up for farmers, families, and values. That's why Rick Niemeyer has been endorsed by the Indiana Farm Bureau, the NRA, Indiana Right to Life, and more. Now Niemeyer is fighting the tough issues of today, standing up to NIPSCO and their rate hikes, and protecting farmers' property rights against the land grabs of pipeline companies. Rick Niemeyer, the conservative you can count on for state senate. Paid for by the committee to elect Rick Niemeyer.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
841. Let's get a check of the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Darien, an accident, Cass and Frontage Road. Lakemore, an accident, US 12, right before Belvedere Road. 8094, solid traffic eastbound between Klein and Martin Luther King Drive due to an accident now spread out on both shoulders. And delays continue on the Edens outbound. Heavy delays between Peterson and Church, all due to 2 right lanes being blocked as they deal with a hazardous material situation at the Dempster entrance ramp. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. In the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center, breezy and warmer, clouds and sunshine, high near 78. Some areas may sneak up near 80 degrees. Your next news update at 9. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, flags are at half staff to honor the memory of Chicago Police Officer John Bartholomew. But what's happening in the Cook County courts, the Cook County justice system, I should say, in the wake of the shooting of those 2 police officers at Swedish Covenant? Anything? Anything changing? CWB Chicago reporting a man who skipped at court in a felony gun case shot and killed another man before authorities caught up with him 4 months later. He is now charged with murder. The shooting occurred 3 months after this guy, 20 years old, skipped court on a pending felony gun charge, according to records. A judge had issued a warrant for his arrest in January of 2024. Almost a year and a half on the lam, after he failed to appear in the case. When police finally caught up with him, they found him illegally possessing another firearm, this time a rifle. He has now pled guilty in both gun cases and received consecutive prison terms, 2 and 5 years, scheduled to be released on parole in August of 2027. He is the 39th person charged with killing or trying to kill someone in Chicago in 2024 while on felony pretrial release. Those cases involve 42 victims, including 11 who died. 10 of 2024's attempted murder victims were Chicago cops. 10! Lucky there aren't more dead police officers. So what is the Cook County State's Attorney's Office doing about this? We've talked about the Safety Act politicians, who, by the way, for the most part, have been as quiet as church mice since those two officers were shot and John Bartholomew was murdered. Oh, I saw something where, Jelly Bellies, it doesn't require release, and he's always willing to look at things. Same old, same old. Same thing he said after Bethany McGee was almost burned alive on CTA. They're so unserious about your safety. They're so unserious about removing habitual violent criminals from the streets. And Eileen, O'Malley, Madigan, Daly, Cullerton, O'Shaughnessy, O'Halloran, Burke does not get off on this. A good piece also at CWB Chicago. The Cook County State's Attorney has some options to fight pretrial release if a judge orders said that the Cook County State's Attorney's Office has not used or has used very sparingly. Burke said electronic monitoring is not an alternative to detention. It does not keep people safe. Yeah, no kidding. But as CWB Chicago reports, defense attorneys and former prosecutors who spoke to CWB Chicago said that while Burke's office is quick to criticize judges when things go wrong, the office rarely challenges questionable pretrial release decisions in court. You can challenge a judge's pretrial detention order or pretrial release order, more to the point. When Burke and other public officials, while Burke and other public officials are now criticizing Judge Lake's decision in the case of the shooting of those two officers, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, or the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, never asked him to revisit it. Not only that, but when the cop killer had a string of electronic monitoring violations in February, including some during overnight hours, an assistant state's attorney only asked the judge, Lake, to give the guy a verbal warning. That was the last time he appeared in court before he disappeared and showed up and shot two officers. Records show Burke's office also failed to ask a judge to reconsider the electronic monitoring release of the guy who set Bethany McGee on fire on the Blue Line. There is some options the Cook County State's attorneys have that they're not using. One is a motion for relief, and you can also appeal the judge's order. CWB Chicago found two cases in which Burke's office successfully used a motion for relief. And listen to these cases. I mean, what are these judges thinking? But we're not letting the state's attorney off the hook. The two cases in which Burke's office successfully used a motion for relief: a suburban case in December of 24 involving a man accused of kidnapping and raping a 16-year-old girl. And a judge was going to let him out? Did order him released. Kidnapping and raping a 16-year-old girl. And a Chicago case last spring in which prosecutors said a judge released a woman accused of shooting someone during a bar fight after demonstrably inaccurate claims were made by a defense attorney. If a motion for relief fails, prosecutors can take the matter to an appellate court under Supreme Court Rule 604. Legal researchers working for CWB Chicago found 35 appellate court orders related to pretrial release decisions filed by State's Attorney's Office across Illinois during the cashless bail era. None came from Cook County. None. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call and text line. So before you exonerate State's Attorney Burke, what direction is she giving the assistant state's attorneys to challenge, use their good judgment to challenge pretrial release of known habitual offenders, even if you can't use their prior bad acts against them in the argument? You know these people are public safety threats, or somebody, even if they are not habitual offenders, but did something horrific and you know they're a public safety threat, why you're not using every avenue available to you as a prosecutor to hold this individual over for trial. One attorney telling CWB Chicago, quote, if the state thought Judge Lake's decision was wrong and the community was in danger because of Judge Lake's decision, then Rule 604 allowed for an appeal of Judge Lake's decision and allowed a request for continued detention during the appeal. It's a fail-safe valve that would have gotten at least 3 Illinois appellate judges involved. And maybe somebody at some level of the judiciary would say, I don't want to be associated with whatever this guy might do if we allow him out on pretrial release. You put yourself on the line. That's exactly what these judges should be made to do. And it's exactly what the Cook County State's Attorney's Office should be compelled to do. And exactly what the Attorney General should be compelled to do. Ask about it, at least. And all the Safety Act sponsors and co-sponsors, and the Speaker, Chris Welch, and the Senate President, Don Harmon, and the Governor named Pritzker, and the Mayor named Brandon Johnson. But I understand the Chicago Press Corps doesn't want to ask any imprudent questions of their fellow travelers. Rick, Downers Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Hey, you got to cut some slack on these Democrat politicians and judges, letting these guys go on multiple gun charges, because they're more concerned about people like me, people who have the FOID card, your CNR license, your FFL, buy it legally, fill out the paperwork. They want to crack down on people like me. They can't be bothered with the street criminal buying guns on the street illegally. It's more people like me they want to harass.
Thanks for the call, Rick. I'm surprised there were only 35 cases across the state challenging an order for pretrial release. And that's what Pritzker is using as his backstop. In most cases where Republicans have complained about the Safety Act, it's actually been the bad decision by an elected judge in Illinois, or no hearing at all because the prosecutor didn't bring it to the judge, and that has been the reason why somebody gets let out. Right. But if you didn't have the Safety Act, it wouldn't have been an option for the judge. Right, Jelly Belly? Blame shifting. But I'm glad. Let's get the finger pointing going. Maybe we can ratchet up some public disagreement among the political power structure because they don't want to talk about it. That's very clear and unsurprising. Robert in Schaumburg.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Good.
I was just wondering, since this criminal was let out of jail, and he had a gun before where was the gun at? He got in the hospital, and he started shooting 2 police officers. And did they frisk him? I heard the guy was naked, and I'm just wondering, what if he would have shot somebody else, the doctors or a couple of nurses, or even me sitting in there,
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Robert. No, I get it. I mean, that's certainly part of the conversation of how he got a gun past the alleged wanding, and after being arrested, was he, properly frisked? How did he, how and where did he obtain the gun? How did he evade the detection of the gun? Those are questions. Yeah. And I want those answers too. But boy, oh boy, this conspiracy of fools that we have elevated to decision making about public safety. Would you like to start in terms of reckonings with them? Dan Prof, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You smell that?
Spring. Hibernation's over. It's time to run it. Run it until the grass becomes long and the hedges duck and cover. Then, run it again. Still, get up to $50 off select AK battery tool sets. Offer valid for limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
The Danielle Gill Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Actually lowering prices has rarely ever been an accomplishment a Democrat could even claim. The Democrat modus operandi is to use each crisis as an excuse to pass legislation which increases spending, gives more power to the government, and which will make new crises which they can't then use as an excuse to pass more horrible legislation.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
What do you see? A duck or a rabbit?
Ben?
Look here. Do you see a vase or two faces looking at each other?
What are you doing?
Showing some of my favorite optical illusions.
Why?
To introduce our newest sofa.
Ah, yes. The new Russell apartment sofa.
Penny Mustard's greatest optical illusion yet.
How so?
The Russell appears to be the perfect pint-sized sofa to fit any small living space.
Yeah?
But behold, 3 adults can still easily sit together without feeling cramped.
No way.
Oh, ye of little faith. Arvid, you sit on this side of me.
Okay.
And Nicole, you sit here.
Fine.
See?
Wow, you're right. This sofa doesn't look big enough to hold all of us.
But it does.
It's pretty comfortable, too.
Seeing is believing.
You know this is radio, right?
Just squint your ears, you'll see it.
The new Russell apartment sofa, starting at $20.81 at Penny Mustard. 6 Chicagoland showrooms. PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Platform safety is so important in your industrial facility. You need to keep personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. Experience one problem with your platforms, and you could be facing costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a metal fabricator, I know the importance of keeping your workplace safe. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment including steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our team of union building trades mechanics can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality steel products, and install it all, creating a safer workplace environment.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your building. See what else they can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 773. They don't wand you at Swedish if you're brought in on an ambulance. I was brought there by an ambulance 2 years ago. Yeah, but you weren't under arrest, I presume. And the hospital said they, in fact, did wand the suspect. So that doesn't wash based on what we know at this juncture. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Great to have Mike Scott back. I'm sure you agree. We'll see you tomorrow. It's now 9 o'clock at AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Trying to get hundreds of stranded ships moving again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The Iranians do not have control of the strait. We have absolute control of the strait.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tells Fox, in addition to the blockade around Iran's ports, the U.S. is now escorting other ships through the Strait of Hormuz starting today.
The U.S. Military Central Command said just a few hours ago, 2 U.S.-flagged merchant ships were successfully escorted out of the Strait of Hormuz by a pair of American destroyers. Now, Iranian claimed it fired a missile and hit one of those destroyers, something Central Command